Sometimes I'd like to be alone in my own mind. I feel at home within these walls. I fear my own absence of association.
Hello everybody and welcome to meeting 3 of the World GT Championship Season 8, brought to you by 3M here on the Iris Esports Network. We are here at Brasselton in Georgia, the track known as Road Atlanta, and well, after last week's first endurance race of the season, we are back to 3 sprint races here tonight. And this should be some excellent battling. And on show here today, there's the conditions. And yes, they are in freedom units. Track temperature 119 degrees Fahrenheit. That's going to be the mid to high 40s. In fact, possibly even to the 50s centigrade. Partly cloudy sky. And it is myself here, along with Chaz Drake-up. I am behind the cameras as well. And this Van Ballo, trackcams22.com. who provide us with our track cameras. But yeah, it is myself and Chaz Drake-up on the coverage here. And Chaz, we've had one sprint round, now we've had one endurance round. What are your thoughts after the early going this season?
Well, I know everyone's going to be sort of sick of us mentioning it, but Williams, they are flying at the moment. Those 3 BMWs at the front of the pack, you can't ignore them. You really can't. Pure Sims seem to be best of the rest at the moment. There's a couple of Fitstyle cars as well that are doing quite well. And don't forget as well the Cobalt cars for Paceworks Esports. They've been doing a really good job so far. A team I hadn't seen before this season. And they have been quite a pleasant surprise, to be honest. And Mohamed Janko, I remember him being fast at Silverstone as well. But going from an endurance format where these guys may have been in a bit more of a level-headed position last time, just thinking, let's just play it safe. There's only one race. We're back to the madness of the sprint racing again. And what a circuit to do it at Road Atlanta. It's an absolute belter, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You see the schedule up on screen then. So Road Atlanta, we've got our first week off next week, and that will then see us the following week heading on to the Monza Grand Prix circuit. Daytona Road rounds out the month of August, and the endurance race for that particular round before we head on to the Nürburgring. Motegi, Spa-Francorchamps, Imola, Barcelona, Le Mans, and then finally Indianapolis. That is your season, and what a season it's been so far, as you mentioned, for the Williams Esports drivers there, Chaz, because they're first, second, and Josh Thompson in 8th place for that team in your pro standings.
Yeah, interesting just to see, despite how quick Josh has been and the results, that one dropout in that first race of the season really has cost him dear. Over 100 points behind his 2 teammates, Arana and Sarika. But still, Michael Avdoka up there, like I say, he's only 14 points off those guys. He may have been a long way behind on the circuit at Sebring, much like his teammate Ross McFarlane, but at the end of the day, he was still in a high scoring position, which keeps him up there. Carl Moore in 4th place as well. He's one to keep an eye on, only 4 points off of Doka. Christian Rose, what a return to sim racing it's been for Christian. I know he spent quite a bit of time out during lockdown. He was incredibly busy as he was a key worker, so thank you to Christian for his work over that time as well. But what a great return for him. 5th, just ahead of reigning champion Pete Harrod. George McClay, he's always a quick guy to keep an eye on as well. And Cam Dance is a pleasant surprise at the bottom of that top 10 as well. 219 points, that is definitely not anything to be sniffed at. It's a good score so far, that.
It certainly is. We'll head on to the Pro-Am standings now, and again some really good performances so far in the early going. As you say, Watson, Horder and Janko in that top 3, but Jake Blackall, really good performance last time out in the endurance race.
Yeah, Jake was right up there and he had consistent pace, and that's the thing. Some of these guys can put in some really good qualifying pace and then not follow it up over the course of a race and stay consistent. You know, they can focus on one lap, get it nailed, and then just not have it over the course of the evening. Watch out for Matt Bunn as well. He's 10th in the championship in the Pro-Am standings at the moment, but you can see ahead of him just how close it is. And Matt is an absolute demon sometimes on race pace and good at making his way through the field. So another one to watch out for as well. Tom Jacobs, he's been quick when we've seen him on track. And Stephen McCaffrey as well. I'm surprised to see him down there in 7th place actually. He's had some good performances so far as well. And Ethan Bass and Simon Field only 2 points apart there as well, but it is incredibly close. Reigning champion of that class as well, Mike Horder, in 2nd place, only 2 points ahead of Janko. So this is the time, if they're going to gain a lot of points, to really get on with it, isn't it, Paul? Because while it's close together, you can jump a couple of places just by having one semi-decent result compared to your rivals. Yeah,
and of course, don't forget there is a drop week in the championship, and Adam Watson looks like he'll be using that this week because of a major power outage in his area. So hopefully not all is lost for him. Now into the AM Championship, and well, it's been a great performance from the top of your standings for Lars van Rijn to be not too far ahead of John Roberts. John Roberts had a really good performance in the endurance last week, and Chris Byram, after that first week at Silverstone, getting 2 reverse grid poles, he's just dropped back a little bit into 3rd place here.
Yeah, and again, just after him there, it's incredibly close. I mean, there's 6 points between 4th and 8th from Morgan Butler back to Kieran Chung. Niall Crowther, 9th there as well. Matt Draycott and Mr. Powell are actually tied on points there on 125. Sean Gardner in 10th, though, only 1 point off Niall ahead of him. So really close there, but it's interesting in that one because the bigger gaps in that top 10 are actually in the top 3. So those guys may be feeling a little bit safer at this point, but you really cannot let it rest in this championship, can you?
Certainly won't. Certainly can't at all. And one lucky spin of the wheel might end up getting you a really good points haul. Move
Especially
on to the
Chris Byram.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the Pro Team Championships. I don't think they have enough championships in this series, that's for sure. But Williams Esport, the absolute dominance that they've had at the start of this season, they've got 4 wins out of 4 for their team and their drivers. Pure Sims OBP in 2nd place, but only 1 point ahead of Paceworks Esports Cobalt. It's been really good to see that Paceworks Esports Cobalt team up there challenging. It's great to see a mix of the teams there. Sim Sports Racing USA ahead of the 2 Texsense and Renvale Fitstyle Motorsports cars. 3M Racing down there in 7th. 8th for Nomad Racing. I'll be really disappointed with their performance so far. And Pure Sims Esports, that looks a lot worse than it is, Chaz, because of course the entire team changed car last round.
Yeah, they did. They took a big chunk off their points tally just so they could focus on getting the Mercedes out there. And they were the first guys to swap over to that car. We actually went into the season with no Mercedes on track. And it's interesting, I've been speaking to a couple of the guys behind the scenes between race meetings, and there are others that are considering the Mercedes as well. Apparently it's not as bad as people thought, though, over what is apparently the unstable nature of the Ferrari now. Apparently it's very tail happy. And it's not the easiest thing to rein in at the moment, but apparently there are a lot of people looking to change to the Mercedes when they get the chance. So interesting, when we get the off week next week, that is the only time they can make the change. There are your Pro-Am standings, and well, if you're in a boosted car, you've got to be laughing at this point, haven't you, Paul?
Yeah, you certainly have. A nice big gap, almost, what's that, about 92, 94 points ahead of the third place teams of Team Mad and Paceworks Esports, who are tied on 362 there. Team Lizard Motorsport not that far behind in 5th place, only just 9 points ahead of KRD Motorsport, who had Jake Blackall with a really good result last time out. H2M Engineering doing well as well in 7th place. They're battling Vulcan Sim Racing, who actually fell down the order quite a bit from last week. XVR Sim Racing pop up into the top 10, and P1 Racing round out the top 10 of your Pro-Am team standings. So that's how everything is here at the stunning and beautiful Road Atlanta circuit. 1 minute remaining of qualifying for your drivers, but one thing of note here, of course, there are stewarding decisions made after each round of the championship, and there was only one penalty to be served this week, and that was James Whitehouse, one of the amateurs. He ended up with a qualifying exclusion penalty. However, as you'll see when we go through the grid, he has actually set a qualifying time. So the question is, the stewards don't take kindly to that, do they?
No, not at all, and that's the thing. You need to be switched on when you go into a race meeting, and make sure you check out your penalties. There are a lot of guys that actually don't check them weekly. I know this. I've been guilty of it before, to be honest. Even if you've been in the slightest of incidents, you have to just keep an eye on it and make sure that you aren't in any trouble. And unfortunately, after a very tough weekend at the Teesside 24-hour, James Whitehouse is one of those guys, well, the only guy in this race meeting that has, of course, got a penalty. Him and actually Pete Harrod, reigning champion, were racing together in a kart for Century Sim Racing. They finished 11th in class, I believe, as Josh Thompson as well finished 3rd overall in the race. So interesting to see how those guys get on tonight, because Josh messaged me earlier and said that he was absolutely destroyed after that one, because, well, I'm sure as a lot of you know, I think you did an endurance race in a kart before, didn't you, Paul?
I choose not to speak of that because I didn't actually get into the kart. I was that unwell. But yeah, the only time that I've ever turned up to do a 24-hour race, and it's the only time that I got such a bad fever, I ended up with balance issues, which meant that I couldn't get in the kart. So you kind of need your balance when you're driving around at high speed in a unsprung kart, but there you go. We've got about a minute left of the qualifying session just to finalise itself here, Chaz. So looking at this week then, we'll bring up the track graphic actually on the screen, because it's that first sector which is the difficult part for the start of any races here.
I hate it. Basically, there is a very fast first corner. It's always a difficult one to get right. You want to take quite a late apex and really set yourself up for a good run up the hill. Of course, if you do lose out any momentum there, it's exaggerated by the fact that it's uphill. At the top of the hill, as you're going into the left-hander of a braking zone, you've then got to get the weight transferred over to the right. Don't hit too much of the curb. It's a blind apex for most cars, especially if it's in a low-slung GT3 car like this. You've got to make sure you've got the car settled again as you're then going down the hill to the left, down the hill to the right. It bottoms out, you're going up the hill with another little S left and right, and then you go into a very scary left-hander with a lot of curb on the inside, a lot of curb on the outside, and it's a blind exit. And to be honest, Paul, we do see incidents on that corner, and there can be cars sat in the middle of the road at the top of the hill, and you can go into it flat out, not even expecting a thing. And we may see a few incidents there today. Around the second half of the lap, though, is where most of the overtaking opportunities are. A lot of the time you'll see these guys just follow one another through that first and second sector. But on the back part of the circuit, the double right-handers at the bottom of the hill usually are where you see people trying to outbrake one another. And then, of course, the chicane, the second to last corners there. We're going to see a lot of moves down there tonight. Well,
it's a Williams Esports 1-2-3 again. On the grid, it's Sarika, Arana and Thompson, first, second and third, with Paulo Munoz, really good fourth place at 0.4 of a second off of the pole position time. Ross McFarlane then for Pure Sim Esports ahead of Michael Evdoka for Pure Sim's OBP, and then Daniel Lee, the first of your Pro-Ams, in 7th place. Really good qualifying then for Daniel to get that 7th place. Pete Harrod is in 8th place ahead of Jake Blackall, the second of your Pro-Ams. Then it's Cameron Dance in 10th place. Ben Palmer and Carl Moore are the next row of the grid. Lewis Bibby and Christian Rose ahead of George McClay and Michael Gray. Alex Nella with Mike Horder, and then the 10th row of the grid, it's Steve McAfee and Pete Newman. Bradley Burns, good to see him in the car in 21st ahead of Chris Wood for Team and 22nd. Ethan Bass, I promised him I'd get his name right this week and I didn't. He's in that 23rd place ahead of Matt Bunn. Harold Stadler ahead of Mohamed Janko, who will be looking for a good result this week. Simon Field and Simon Underhill in 28th. Tony Draper, Morgan Butler rounding out your top 30, and I believe Tony Draper is actually in pole position in your amateurs. Dean Powell and James Whitehouse. I'm sure there'll be lots of talk by the admins afterwards for James Whitehouse. Ben Gregory and Max Bird back after missing last week's racing. Chris Byram and Adam Hedgecock 36th ahead of Kieran Chun, and Lars Van Rijn, the championship leader in the amateurs, in 38th. Nathan Dixon and Matt Woodhouse in 9th and 40th. That's row 20 of your grid. Craig Jones ahead of Michael Blake with Matthias van Delden and Matt Draycott. He'll be disappointed all the way down in 44th place. John Roberts and David Nichols 45th, 46th. Niall Crowther and Adam McNally. Now Adam McNally did not set a lap time, neither did Andy Shield and Gavin Baker for 50 cars on the grid here.
It's going to be a tightly packed circuit. It's not a very long lap around here at Road Atlanta, so expect to see plenty of battles and even some traffic as well for the lead cars as we see the parade lap now. 3 Williams cars at the front of the field once again. Good to see some Mercedes out there though now in the Pure Sims liveries. Nice to see some of those guys representing that wonderful machine. Of course the Porsche safety car there just leading them round at the moment. But to be honest, Paul, I'm expecting these Williams guys to try and work together again here and just let the rest of the field sort themselves out. But there's a couple of guys in the midfield there that we've definitely got to keep an eye on as they make their way through.
Absolutely. So drivers heading themselves down the back straight. Just also a quick mention, you can keep up to date with everything happening in the racing today. Just go to racespot.tv/timing and then the number 2, so that's timing 2, and you can keep up to date with everything happening in these 3 races. It's 3 sprint races here today, and I tell you what, they always give us really good excitement and great racing here in this championship. Of course, this championship brought to you by 3M, Pure Sims and Simmortal Models, so make sure you check out their products. We will be having the reverse grid draw at the end of this race, so watch out for that. But we're getting ready for the start of the first of our sprint races here today. Drivers plunging downhill towards the last turn, and Sarika, he's going to go early. Arana and Thompson following him through, and the green flag is out here in the World GT Championship, heading down towards turn number 1 for the first time. How will everyone get on? Well, Thompson in 3rd, McFarlane working his way through in 4th place. You've got 2 Ferraris of Munoz and Daniel Lee battling it out for 5th and 6th place. Everybody else staying as they are. We have got a little bit of a check-up further back, but everybody seems to be still running further back, although I'm hearing a few little contacts, and there's a spinner in the middle of the road. That's Simon Field. That's not the start he wanted, and also I can tell you that Harold Stadler has had an issue as well. So 2 drivers at the start of this race not having the best of starts.
No, Simon Field there in the McLaren just got caught out by some of the battling in the mid-pack by the look of it. If you try and push that McLaren beyond its limits in the first few laps of this race, it is going to bite you. But we look at this now. In 4th place, Ross McFarlane doing a great job. Paolo Munoz was his teammate, 4th on the grid. But Ross McFarlane all over the back of Josh Thompson as they go down into the chicane for the first time. His 2 teammates of Moreno Sarika and Alex Arana just breaking away at the moment. Josh is going to have to play what I call the Nico Rosberg at this point and play rear gunner. But interesting to see Ross McFarlane on the back of him in that Mercedes, and well, based on what people were saying before the season started, Paul, that Mercedes wasn't the car to go for. But right now, it looks smashing.
Yeah, it's really looking well through turns 1 and then 2. The left-hander brake hard into turn 3. And McFarlane, we're on board with him here. This Mercedes, the deep growl of the Mercedes. This is the corner that's going to catch a lot of people out here tonight, is turn number 5, the left-hander. Because you have to use the bumps and you have to use the curbs. It really does affect your car. Only one driver has retired from the race so far, David Nichols, so he's out of the race. Everybody else here still running in this one, Chaz, which is great to see. And well, it doesn't matter where you look, there's action like this further down. Pete Harrod seemingly holding up Cam Dance and Jake Blackhall.
Yeah, Pete and Jake will be communicating, trying to work together here. They're both in the same stable. There is one of the Knight Rider Designs cars off. It's Pete Newman. Pete's been involved in a couple of incidents so far this season. That's a very light front end on that Ferrari, with no bonnet on that, but that is not going to help it. Here is a quick replay of what happened then. Let's keep an eye on him. Going into the double right-hander, he's got the flamethrower of Chris Wood in front of him. That's Matt Bunn just behind. He checks up not to make the contact, and just a curve on the exit into the wall, and that's a big hit, to be fair. And he's lucky in that case he didn't come back into traffic. And
we're actually going to stay on the replay because Jake Blackhall has dropped down the order here. Not had a good time of it into the chicane. He was loose. He was all out of control coming into the chicane there. That's a bit unusual. We'll get another look at this one from a different angle, but it looks like he just gets on the grass on the left-hand side, on the brakes, into the side of that Texense Fitstyle Motorsports car and into the wall. And the man who won the Pro-Am category last time out at Sebring is all the way down now in 48th.
Yeah, that was just a little mistake there, just with so much consequence. And Cam Dance got very lucky as well to get away with that there, as he could have easily been spat out to the left-hand side, and even Pete Harrod as well. That contact could have pushed him into Pete Harrod, reigning champion, of course, and he didn't actually get too bad a sort of disruption from that. Here's the two leaders at the moment, the two Williams machines, with Josh Thompson now closing in on them. He's actually gapped Ross McFarlane a little bit. Andy Shield, who we saw didn't set a time, is back in the pit lane here, Paul. That's a real shame. This team is absolutely having a nightmare.
He's got a lot of damage already on that car. We're going to try and just rewind it, see if we can find... He's already got the damage going into turn 1.
I think it was on lap 1, you know.
Yeah, it must have been, and he must have then caused further damage, because he was actually travelling at racing speed here, and he just seems to be struggling with that car. Yeah, you can see he's really struggling with that car, and he's decided that the best thing really for him is to park that car and say goodbye to this race. So that does drop him down the order, but battling towards the back end of your field. We're going to car off. It's Cam Dance.
Dance in the walls already today, and that may have been contact round there. It's not really a corner. We see people lose it a lot, although he's done it quite far off the exit, so you may think that he's chucked it in, the back end's got away, and he's overcorrected it in the other direction. We'll have a quick look now. But the thing with Andy Shield was once you put any weight on the front right of that car, it was going to go around. This is Ben Palmer just behind him. That was the tiniest of taps as well, just as they closed up on the brakes there. The number 2 machine just pushing Cam out of the way. And I don't really think that there was any intention in that with Ben. He's good at following people, is Ben. He's obviously races in real life. He raced last year in the Mini Challenge JCW class, finished 4th in the championship. And now he's got the attentions of Carl Moore right behind there, Simon Underhill. And I tell you, if Simon Underhill didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all.
I tell you what, he's going to be praying. No, he's done the right thing there, though. He's held his brake. I mean, he could have potentially sort of reversed a little bit and got back going again that way. But still, the second best thing, hold your brake. Don't try and return to the track in the middle of all that traffic. And in fact, he's going to be overtaken by Jake Blackhall there down the inside. So it goes from bad to worse for Simon, as now Nathan Dixon makes his way past. So it's not been the best opening to the season for Simon, it's fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with the whole reversing scenario there, when you're on board in the car, always quite know from the mirror how much of the circuit is behind you. So he probably stayed where he was, just thinking there might have been a car's width for people to try and go around the outside of him. Because from where he was sat, it might have felt like he was in the middle of the road. We're on board right now, though, with Michael Gray chasing down George McClay. And I'm not a poet, but he is now looking very poised in this BMW. He's got a good scrap in front of him here. He's got then McClay, Moore and Palmer ahead, as this is now turned into a four-way battle. Just off the back of these guys is Christian Rose, who of course is 5th in the championship, doing a fantastic job at the moment, but he'll be looking for points, and these guys are just looking for positions. But this is the thing, this first race can determine a lot about your evening, dependent on the reverse grid, so you can't take any chances and just linger. You have to go for it in this first race, don't you?
Well, that's it, and your aim really is at the very least 24th. If you're one of these drivers further down, and the man who is in 24th at the moment is Steve McAfee, who has got a bit of damage on the front of his car, and I think that happened on the last lap here, but he's in that magic 24th spot, which we have seen drawn in the first round of the championship, so there's no guarantees. It is a random draw that we have, and you'll see that after we give the results of this race. But yeah, Steve right now is under pressure from Ben Gregory behind, and also Cam Dance, a recovering Cam Dance, trying to work his way back through the field as well.
Cam Dance and Ben Gregory, ex-teammates at TechSense Fitstein Motorsport as well. I believe that Ben Gregory actually did delivery of this car that Cam's driving now, and he did delivery on that Audi as well. He's looking at McCaffrey into the chicane there. McCaffrey's car looked a bit sort of tail happy over the first part of the lap. Whether it is the damage that's actually helping the front end bite a bit more than he wants to, or whether it's understeering and he needs to chuck it in a bit harder and it's trying to sort of counterbalance itself, we have to wait and see. But Gregory's lost a bit of time in that final sector there, maybe looking in his mirrors a bit at Cam Dance. We know that Cam is quick though, as there was that was the 3M car just ahead. There's Ethan Bass, car 19, P19 at the moment, with Tony Draper of Century Sim Racing all over the back of him in that wonderful yellow Ferrari. And I tell you one thing, I always say that sometimes cars with no sponsors on them, or ones that aren't caked in sponsors, look good. But not only is Tony Draper racing in what used to be my racing number, but that car, without all the logos on the front of it, looks really good.
Certainly does, as he's heading in through turn 6. On camber is that corner, so you can really throw it in there. It's important to get the run out of here, and Tony has actually got it slightly wrong through there. Now, Tony is the leading amateur driver in this race at the moment, so he doesn't necessarily have to fight with Ethan here in this battle. He could just basically sit behind and just take it easy and keep away from Morgan Butler, who's the second amateur, who's in 22nd place, so he's a couple of places back from your leading amateur. Just to let you know, leading Pro-Am is Daniel Lee up in 7th place. Michael Gray is the next best Pro-Am, who's in 12th place, and then Bradley Burns in 14th is the third best Pro-Am. Battling going on with Ben Palmer and Carl Moore, and I believe it's Moore that's actually made his way past. Yes, he has, up into 9th place ahead of Ben Palmer.
Yeah, he must have had a really good run out of turns 1 and 2 there up the hill. Got the better of Ben, and once you hold somebody up in that little kink at the top of the hill, it's really difficult to try and come back from that and regain the momentum. We've now got Michael Gray just behind around the outside of George McClay. Those two still side by side into the tight right-hander. He's going to try and get it done, but waiting in the wings though is Christian Rose in the other Ferrari as well. They're now going to slipstream each other down the back straight. Gray isn't going to get much of a run there because he's very close to the back of George McClay. Christian Rose decides to go with the XVR Sim Racing BMW on the right-hand side. We're on board with the Ferrari now. Great view, but to be fair, Michael Gray's got that done. I wasn't expecting that much of a run from him, but it seems that George McClay, well, he's got the big word fight on the roof for the Fight CRC campaign, but he really couldn't fight that one. And a switch of positions at the front of your field as well. The Williams drivers, obviously, as mentioned last week, no team orders, and Alex Arana now up into the lead of this one. Marina Sarica down to second, and Josh Thompson, it's worth pointing out, fastest lap of the race so far in this one, a 1:18.1. That's a sensational lap, is that one, to be fair. And he is slowly gaining on his two teammates in front, so don't write Josh out of this one yet. Yeah, we saw that at Sebring these guys flew in formation for the whole thing, and once they'd done their final stops, we literally said that the gloves were off, and they were indeed, and they gave us some excellent racing. Josh was third in that train back then, and he's third in this one now. I'm fully expecting him to push forward. Michael Gray looking very aggressive there, but Ben Palmer, as you can see, has made his way back past Carl Moore, so this battle is far from over. Here is the move, I believe.
Yes, I believe it's going to be an issue through the S's and through turn 5 for Carl. And this is, as I mentioned, this is the place that really catches people out. This left-hander right here, he's running out wide, up over the curb, on the bumps there. Oh, did well to hold on to that one. That's a wild ride out there, I can tell you from experience. But Carl, he doesn't want to take that line too often. And he is now down one place. He was lucky to only lose one place there.
Yeah, well, it's very easy for when these cars bounce. Just one wheel can get less traction than the others, and it'll spit you out either at the wall, which you can then bounce off into traffic. Oh, we've got cars together. That looks like Morgan Butler. Is that Tony Draper?
No, it's was it Whitehouse? It was Whitehouse.
Oh, Morgan needs to be careful there. He's just reversing a little bit. He makes sure that he doesn't go back onto the racing line. But wow, that was looking like quite a scary moment. I believe you are right though, Paul. It would have been James Whitehouse around that sort of position. Let's have a quick look. He's chasing down Mohamed Janko. Wow, Whitehouse launching it up the inside. A bit of contact there. And then Morgan just runs wide. The two of them get together, and that's not really on Whitehouse. It was a late move down the inside originally. Morgan just inches the car away.
That is close.
That was Hedgecock in the McLaren, and wow. I'm sure that the back of that McLaren will be brown now, not orange, because that was a right moment. But a bit of a shame there, because Morgan didn't leave all the room in the world, but it's easy to do in that chicane. You can still be trying to turn right as best you can. We've got a battle here with the number 83, Mark Woodhouse, and that is Lars van Rijn, the championship leader in the AM category, and he's just been displaced as well by one of the Texsense Fixed-Type Ferraris. It's Lewis Bibby, and it's interesting to see Lewis that far down, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. One of your pro drivers. He's down in 29th. He actually started this race, I believe, in 38th, and he's working his way through, is he? Oh no, he started in 13th, actually. I do apologise, because he just got ahead of Lars in that turn number 7. And Lars and Mark Woodhouse, that was an interesting battle, because that was Pro-Am versus Am in there. But Boosted, they'll be wanting the points and trying to pull away even more from the Team Mad driver of Mark Woodhouse. But we'll look forward here, because we've got a three-way battle between Dance Gregory and Max Bird as well.
Well, I think 2.5 at the minute with Max Bird's internet being the way it is. I'm hotspotting on a phone at the moment, and it seems to be a little bit better than whatever Max Bird's got going on. But Cam, now he's got past Ben Gregory, he just seems to have cleared off in that first sector. It's quite easy to do once you get a really good run. You can gain a lot of time on your rivals through there, but that flashing in Ben Gregory's mirrors of Max Bird, that will be putting him off, trust me. Oh, as we go back to Mr. Woodhouse, what Team Mad call their stud muffin. Yeah, and he is away and off. There's actually a bit more. I think that's just from someone running wide on the exit naturally. There he gets to go. Oh, no, Mark. Oh, mate, what have you done? What have you done?
Right, let's get this up on the screen here then. Is there any contact from behind? Yes, there is. It was the Fixed-Type car into the back of Woodhouse. Yeah, it was Bibby. Absolutely right, spot on there. And then we've got to show it in the interest of fairness and to prove that I do not have any bias towards my teammates. But Mark is getting back on the throttle, and he's on the grass, and it's bouncing. And, causes heavy damage to the front. And that is pretty much his race run here. He's dragging it down. He's parking it. He can't take it anymore. That's his race done.
It is indeed such a shame that as well. I was going to say his partner Bex is a huge fan of some of my Twitch streams, and I know she'll be sort of probably laughing at him right now. In all fairness, he does take things like that quite lightly sometimes. Mark, he's a top bloke, isn't he? But it'll be frustrating all the same for him though, and he's just going to make sure he keeps his head now and bounces back for the other two races. But what can you say about this lot, Paul? I mean, once again, a little bit of damage to the front left of the number 69 car there of Sarika. Alex Arana leading the race, but once again, Williams have come to this series, and we knew they were going to be up front maybe with a fight, but look at that. I mean, Ross McFarlane, though, fair play to him, because he's keeping on a good pace, but this is just insane stuff today, once again, from these boys.
Well, Ross McFarlane is 5.4 seconds, 5.5 seconds behind Josh Thompson in 4th place, and he has actually been able to pull away from Paulo Munoz in 5th place. So that has actually spread out as that one. Now we have got battling Michael Gray up ahead of Carl Moore, so that's a change of position there. Well, it was a change of position a little bit earlier. So Michael Gray on a charge here, the Pro-Am. He's trying to get up to Daniel Lee, who's in 8th place. So it's a really good run from the XVR driver.
Yeah, he's doing a smashing job. He was quick last season as well. I mean, he was in, I believe he was in the Pro-Am class, as was I, last season. And every time I saw him come up behind me, well, he wasn't often he was behind me, it must have been a reverse grid, but whenever he was there, he was absolutely flying, and he was in the BMW then as well. So he's got that car well dialed in. Oh, and we've got the sort of identical damage squadron of Audi R8s here, and that is Craig Jones. This is his first race meeting this season that he has come back for.
as well.
Yeah, Kieran Chung has made a mess of that. I'll tell you what though, it's interesting that they can get all those Audis to have the same level of damage. Oh, that's a big hit. They must have made contact down the straight before turn 1.
Yeah, we'll try and just wind this one back a little bit and get enough of view of it. So here we are going into turn number 1, and missing you, braking
Craig
into the back, and bang into the wall.
That's such a shame, that, because Craig was actually the AM champion last season and he was so consistent, but it looked like he was distracted by the car behind there, just checking in his mirrors, and it's that easy to get it wrong and go into the car in front. We've seen people do it before. He's not the first, and he's certainly not going to be the last. But speaking of the last, at the moment, Josh Thompson's the last Williams Esports car on the circuit. But I'll tell you what, it's not so bad when you're 1, 2, and 3. But he's going to want to try and get past Moreno Sarica at the moment, championship leader over Alex Arana. And look at that slipstream from the BMW. Josh is well and truly in this fight now. Sarica gets out of the way. Josh thanks him with the lights. And I think that was a bit choreographed there, but you've got to think, is it that tiny bit of damage that's actually affecting Sarica's car here, Paul? Potentially.
Your curb strikes around here, they do affect you. And we're going to come round, so there's going to be 2 more laps of this race. And will Josh be able to close up on Alex? I don't think he will, unless Alex does back off a little bit. But yeah, Thompson up to 2nd place then in the lead gaggle. Further back, however, Michael Gray still hounding the back of Carl Moore, has made it past him now. So these two keep on switching positions here for 10th and 11th.
Yeah, they're having a really good fight, and I know they'll really be enjoying themselves, swapping back and forth. When you find a driver in the pack like this, in a racing series like this, where it's sprint races and you're on a similar pace, and you can just have a really respectful battle together, it can be so much fun, and you can make really good friendships with it as well. Absolutely love it. But Michael Gray, now that Carl has run a bit wide there, is closed in through this first sector. He's just got to follow him, hope that the aero wash from that massive wing on the back of the BMW doesn't upset him too much. Down the hill they go. That then becomes uphill once again. He just shows his nose a little bit to the right, just to say, yep, that is me. I am still here. Around the first of the right-handers, onto the brakes, over the crest of the right-hander. Don't take too much curb on the exit. Don't clip the grass, and you're going to get a good run out of there. But he needs to keep an eye on George McClay behind him, because that Ferrari will be rattling its way right up behind them very soon here, Paul.
Absolutely, heading down the back straight. Movement from both of them. Trying to get the move done in the slipstream. Not close enough to make the move into 10A and 10B here. But we're going to be starting the final lap of this race then. The white flag is out for these drivers, and it's just one more circuit rotation for them out there to finish this race off today. In front, actually, it was Daniel Lee trying to make a move on Pete Harrod as well. That's for 7th and 8th. So the leading Pro-Am in 8th place, doing a very good job. Your leading amateur, Tony Draper, up to 19th in this race. So really good effort and performance from the 2 drivers further down your field there. Your class leaders, but through the S's. The final time in this first race, of course, 3 20-minute races for you. So once we've finished this race, don't forget we'll be moving on to the second race of the evening after a quick break, and we'll have one more race at the end of the evening. But these two pretty much staying static. Marina Sarica moving back ahead of Josh Thompson, but it's going to be Alex Arana coming through the final corner here to take the checkered flag and win in race number 1 of meeting 3, season 8 of the World GT Championship. Across the line he goes to take the win here. So you tonight, Rest of your field's going to be coming through. Daniel Lee still putting the pressure on Pete Harrod as they come up and over the hill. Downhill, and he is your leading Pro-Am, so he's going to take the win in your Pro-Am category. There is Daniel Lee. Tony Draper, he's dropping down the order. He's lost 2 places here. Don't say he's got a problem towards the end of the race here. Up and over the hill. He's got no fuel. He's got no fuel left in that car. He's underfueled it 22nd. Luckily, it's downhill here, Chaz. And he's going to go across the line in 22nd.
Wow, that was, well, that's a way of getting car 22, P22, isn't it? But that must have been a heart-in-your-mouth moment there for Tony Draper, and he's understandably parking it. Here's Morgan Butler just coming down the hill behind Simon Field there. 33rd for Morgan after that incident earlier, but great class win for Tony Draper. Here's Niall Crowther in the number 47. He's just going to have the better of Simon Underhill there as Simon run out of fuel as well. These guys are really feeling this light, aren't they, till the end? Niall's just going to be... Oh, come on, boys.
Dean
It's
Powell,
the last
that was.
lap. Oh, Dean, he's just thinking, I don't like that Team Lizard livery. If you don't, take it up with me. And Simon, though, surely just ran out of fuel there. But that shows you the tiny margins these guys fuel them to. I mean, when I was racing in this series, I'd go for a safe 13 gallons because that, no matter where you are, that'll get you, unless it's Monza, that'll get you easily over a 20-minute race if you get that extra lap. And it seems these guys aren't really wanting to, well, they want to take that risk by the look of it.
So there we go. That is the results for race number 1. Then it is a Williams Esports 1, 2, 3. Alex Arana ahead of Sarika, and then Thompson in 3rd place. Ross McFarlane, the best of your Mercedes drivers, in 4th place ahead of Paulo Munoz. We didn't really talk about Paulo, but a really good result for him in 5th place. Michael Evdoka, another solid result for him and his teammate Pete Harrod, 6th and 7th place. Daniel Lee, your leading Pro-Am, in 8th place ahead of Ben Palmer, and Carl Moore rounds out your top 10, beating out Michael Gray, your 2nd place Pro-Am driver, in that battle for 10th place. George McClay, Christian Rose, 12th and 13th ahead of Bradley Burns. Your finish with your podium there for your Pro-Ams in 14th. Mike Horder and Chris Wood, 15th, 16th ahead of Matt Bunn and Alex Nella. Ethan Bass and Mohamed Janko down to 20th place. 21st Cam Dance ahead of your winning amateur driver, only just ran out of fuel, down to 22nd for him. For Tony Draper, 23rd for Ben Gregory ahead of Max Bird, who finished 2nd in your amateur category. Steve McAfee in 25th ahead of Adam McNally, who will be really disappointed with 26th. Another person who will be disappointed will be Lewis Bibby in 27th ahead of Harold Stadler, again another one, a pro, down there in 28th. Adam Hedgecock 29th ahead of Lars van Rijn, the 3rd place podium sitter for your amateurs, in 30th place. Chris Byram, 31st ahead of Simon Field, a recovering Simon Field there. Another recovering driver, Morgan Butler, 33rd ahead of Matthias van Delden. Kevin Baker, Jake Blackhall, who we saw have that incident very early on in the race, recovers to 36th ahead of Matt Draycott. John Roberts, 38th ahead of Nathan Dixon. And Niall Crowther in 40th place. Then the final page of results. Dean Powell, Kieran Chung and Simon Underhill, another driver who ran out of fuel at the end there, but does finish on the lead lap. Those drivers 2 laps down or more who did not finish: Craig Jones, Matt Woodhouse, James Whitehouse, Michael Blake. Oh, Team Mad, not a good result for them with 2 retirements there. Andy Shield, Pete Newman and David Nichols rounds out your 50 cars here. And well, Chaz, interesting is the word that I would use for that first race there, and another dominating display from those Williams boys.
Yeah, Williams just had the pace. They really did have the pace there. Ross McFarlane again showing that it's either him or Michael Evdoka at the moment that are best of the rest in trying to stick with them, but they've just they're on another level so far, I have to say. But at the end of the day, that's what these seasons are for, and I reckon over the course of the championship, some of these guys are going to get it really dialed in, and they're going to start catching after them. Catching up to them, I should say. But yeah, great to come back to the sprint racing format. Some really good moves, nice battles going on. A couple of silly little mistakes from some of the drivers, but we expect that around here. It's not the easiest of circuits to get right, and as I've said, I really dislike the place. It's great for a spectator, but when you're a driver, it requires so much more concentration than you think. You see the layout and you think, oh, it's simple. It's just left, right, up the hill, and then left, right, down the hill, and then it's a back straight and a chicane. No, it requires so much more concentration than that. Like a lot of great British circuits as well, it's just tarmac and grass. There's no runoff anywhere except for some big curbs, which can unsettle the car just as much. And, 2 more races to go with a reverse grid. It's going to be great.
Absolutely, and why don't we have a look then at the reverse grid wheel? The first time tonight that we're going to be using the reverse grid. And let's see what position we will be reverse gridding. And here we go. Wheel slowing down. And it's going to be, is it going to be 18? No, it's not. It's going to be 24. So 24 is the reverse grid draw. And that means that we have got Max Bird on pole position here for you tonight.
Reverse grid draw. Oh, I'll get it right. Reverse grid draw. P24, car 44. Max Bird. Absolutely love it. And of course, an AM driver as well. So in his respective championship, that could be a big boost for him. The other AMs that he's got around him, though, Tony Draper will start third on the grid looking at the timing screen, and that is it. All the other AMs will be further down from there. So those guys need to stay out of trouble in this one and really take the opportunity to score some big points this evening from this second race, and then see how they can set themselves up for the third one.
So with that, we will step aside just for a few moments. We'll be right back after these adverts here. You're watching the World GT Championship Season 8 Meeting 3, brought to you by 3M.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. Here's the starting lineup. On the pole from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the number 9 Coors Ford qualifying and Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into second position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison.
Sometimes I'd like to be alone in my own mind. I feel at home within these walls. I fear my own absence of association.
Welcome back to live coverage of the World GT Championship Season 8 Meeting 3 from Road Atlanta. Coverage brought to you by 3M. And, well, this championship has certainly given us some exciting racing. We had some good, relatively clean action in that last race, Chaz. Chaz Draycott's joining me on commentary as always. But yeah, that first race, quite clean actually. I expected a bit more of a as your picture breaks up there a little bit. That's we'll have to get the satellite feed working a little bit better. But you know, that first race I expected a bit more carnage on lap 1, and actually it was only really one or two small incidents here and there.
Yeah, usually at Road America we do see a bit of carnage and a bit of pile up here and there, especially out of turn 5. People pass off the wall on the right hand side back into the traffic. People come over the crest, don't know there's an incident happening, don't know where to go, and yeah, usually we do see a safety car, or at least a lot of people out of the race with no return. But we got through that one relatively unscathed. Like you say, a few incidents here and there, but they weren't massive. It was just a couple of guys just racing hard, really, just trying to push the car. So I'm hoping that that's all we're going to see in this one as well. But to be honest, as I've noticed, the figures are not in freedom units anymore.
Yes.
As you said earlier, I like that. The second race with a bit of reverse grid in there, usually a little bit more argy-bargy than the first one, and again, the third race as well is going to be a bit the same as that, but I reckon it's going to be good fun to watch.
And with it being the full reverse grid as well, so 24 cars reversed, that's going to really mix things, as intended, mix things up there.
Yeah, definitely, and it's going to be good to see how these AM drivers at the top, obviously Max Bird and Tony Draper, we were saying just before the break how they need to maximise this and get loads of points in their class. Of course, you get points for your overall position in this series. You don't get the same, say if you're an AM winner in your class, say you finish 17th, you don't get the same points as if you finish 22nd and still win your class. You get points for overall position, so they can fight as many people as they want to. If they know they're far ahead of the next AM driver behind them, then you may see them just let people go a bit, not get into too much of a scrap, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of mind games involved in these second and third races of the night, but we often see that in the World GT Championship, and that's what makes it very different.
Absolutely. Drivers just getting a little bit of practice in the warm-up, 10-minute warm-up before the start of the second and third races here today for you, and they'll be getting an eye in on those conditions. Now, the conditions should actually be cooling down throughout the evening because the final race is going to be into the late afternoon. So right now we're at afternoon setting, so pretty much at peak sort of temperatures really. But certainly they're going to be feeling a little bit better for the final race, that's for sure. But the time is ticking down for the warm-up session. The checker flag being waved right there, and well, it will be almost time to hand you over then to your starting grid right now, and let's get it up on screen for you when my graphics engine decides to let me do that.
Oh, by the way, sorry mate, Adam McNally selected the wrong car for race 2. That energy drink's definitely gone to his head, hasn't it?
Certainly has. As here we go then, starting grid. Max Bird ahead of Ben Gregory, ahead of Tony Draper, so two amateurs and a pro-am in the front three. Cam Dance, I tell you what, he could be a good shout for race number 2 victory here in this one. Mohamed Janko and Ethan Bass in 5th and 6th place. Alex Nella and Matt Bunn 7th and 8th place. Row 5 is Chris Wood for Team Mad, the only point scorer for Team Mad in that last race ahead of Mike Horder. Bradley Burns and Christian Rose in 12th place. George McClay, Michael Gray, we saw them two close together, and Michael Gray and Carl Moore as well battled it out with Ben Palmer in that last race. Daniel Lee and Pete Harrod, they were pretty close across the line as well. Michael Evdoka and Paulo Munoz round out row number 10. Row 11 is Ross McFarlane ahead of Josh Thompson, Raina Sarika and Alex Arana in 24th. And then the rest of your grid is as they were when they finished. So McAfee in 25th, apparently no 26th driver there on my graphics. Lewis Bibby, Harold Stadler, Adam Hedgecock, Lars Van Rijn, Chris Byram and Simon Field. Morgan Butler, Matthias Van Delden, Gavin Baker, Jake Blackhall, Matt Draycott, John Roberts, Nathan Dixon and Niall Crowther round out row 20. Dean Powell, Kieran Chung, ahead of Simon Underhill and Craig Jones. Matt Woodhouse and James Whitehouse together with Michael Blake and Andy Shield. And that's it, just 48 cars. 49 cars actually, I think, yeah. Few issues, but we got there in the end. It wouldn't let me change onto that final position there, but yeah, drivers out on their warm-up lap here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. Again, there's another lapse of concentration here. James Whitehouse has said that he's missed the start of the race because he was too busy watching the stream. Now to be honest, James, I'm going to buy you a trophy for that, because that's a fair effort.
That's a new entry into the big book of racing driver excuses right
yeah,
there.
Fair play.
Is that one.
Can we get some clap emojis, please, for James Whitehouse?
Will you leave it with your emojis, for goodness sake? We're a highly respectable organisation here at Racebot TV. But yeah, still... as they're heading down the back straight here. Now, Max Bird has got Ben Gregory holding back a little bit down the back straightaway here. Now, he will need to bring that side of the queue up, will Ben, or else the admins will be maybe having a few words to him. There we go. He's brought them up together. And look at this then. Big grid out there. James Whitehouse, yep, as you mentioned, not taken to the grid. He sat on pit road right there. You can see his lone car on its own. But we're getting ready for the start of this one then. Race number 2 of 3 for the evening. 20 minutes with the 3M World GT Championship. And, we've got issues with Max Bird as well. But the green flag will be out and we're underway once again. Race number 2 of the championship across the line then. And it's going to be Tony Draper challenging Ben Gregory. And here comes Dance down the inside 3 wide into turn number 1. And it's Dance who gets it. Gregory turns Draper around. And before you know it, Draper is dropping down the order like a stone.
Oh, it's such a shame that I think Dance going down the inside, he just put Tony a little bit offline. They might have made a bit of contact, which is what put him across the front of Gregory's Audi. Cam Dance is doing his own sort of dance down the hill, though, and he's now lost out to Mohamed Janko, who's gone through the 2x2 of the top of the hill. They're 3 wide even now, as there's a Ferrari on the left-hand side. Now there's one of the 3M cars coming through as well. Don't go through the middle there, mate. I think that's Matt Bunn just trying to make up a couple of places. He is that car indeed. The 2 TechSense cars working together, but all this time, Max Bird, he is flying off into the distance at this point, Paul. He's loving this. He's saying, go on then.
Big news in terms of the championship. Alex Arana is back on pit road.
Oh, he is.
So he's had issues here on this opening lap. We'll watch the rest of the field now as they're going 3 wide. In your order, Ben Gregory's dropping down like a stone as well after that contact, and he makes further contact, this time with Chris Wood. That takes Alex Neller off the track as well.
There was contact behind as well, Paul. Another one of the Ferraris got turned there. There was an extra little touch, but again, just some of these guys moving a bit too close together. Bibby, wasn't it? Oh no, yeah, sorry, they're 3, 1, 3 and 33 to be fair, so from a distance it's hard to tell, but yeah, there was that extra little bit of contact from Gregory, but I've always said it to these guys, you don't need to get so close in a straight line, especially going into a braking zone. And once again, we see the ramifications from it, and there's cars off the circuit. It's such a shame that, but to be fair, it could have been a much bigger incident, and Chris Wood did continue. We look now at Ben Palmer, who's got Bradley Burns, Michael Gray, Paolo Munoz, Carl Moore, and Josh Thompson already up to 13th position. The first of the Williams cars flying up the order. And Javier Guerrero in the chat says, chaos. And that's what we love in the World GT Championship. It's frantic and frenetic. And Ross McFarlane is now going down the inside of Carl Moore as well.
Janko's caught right up to Max Bird. So Bird has made a mistake on this lap. And here we go. Change for the lead then at the front of your field. It's Mohamed Janko to the front of your order. The Vulcan Sim Racing car, they had a nightmare last time out. Cam Dance is following through now. So first and second have changed positions. And Max Bird down to 3rd place. Not a good lap for him as they come around the corner no. Now Matt Bunn has made his way past Bird. Bird is heading towards pit road, so he must have a penalty of some sort or damage.
Yeah, there's damage on the front right of that car. I'm wondering whether he's had an incident and run wide at like turn 5, or maybe hit the curb too hard at the top of the hill, because I've seen that cause bodywork damage on these cars before. So he's had a bit of a nightmare there as Max Bird. Real shame, because like I said, the two AMs that should have held their nerve have both got caught up in incidents here and now dropped down. We're on board with Harold Stadler. He's got Pete Harrod, reigning champion, just in front of him. Then Lewis Bibby side by side with one of the, I think that's Bradley Burns in the Freem car, and now he's lost a place. Brave stuff in there, but look at this field through here. Just one big train, and this is the scary bit though. You're coming over that hill there with Harold Stadler so close behind the car in front. If anything happens and they check up in front of you, there's going to be a big incident. But behind him as well, there's even a lot of chaos. Stephen McCaffrey, Chris Wood, Jake Blackhall, Alex Neller and Adam Hedgecock all in that as well. And even Hedgecock has got Matisse van Delden behind him as well. This is side by side now between Jake Blackhall and Chris Wood as Jake tries to make his way up the field. The BMW going to out-drag the McLaren by the look of it, but what a train of cars we've got going on as Janko now losing the lead to Cam Dance side by side on the exit, still side by side. Matt Bunn's going to be watching this one thinking, oh, go on then. He almost went through the middle before, Paul. You've got to think now he's not going to try it this time when there's a race lead on the line as Janko moves around on the exit. Cam doesn't give him all the room in the world. Cam's on the inside. And let's see how he can defend this. Janko carrying the speed, though. And we've got Bird leaving the pit lane. Janko to the front, though, Paul.
Well, Janko's keeping the front, shall we say, ahead of Cam Dance. But he's going to have to do an incredible job to be able to stay ahead of him, because Bunn, Bass, and also Horder right behind. So it's 5 for the lead here. And they've got Ben Palmer closing up to them as well in that 6th place as well. So this is really close action at the front of your field. Great stuff from this championship, and this is what the reverse grids do. Now Cam Dance needs to get this run out of turn 7 absolutely spot on. He needs to get that slipstream, but that BMW behind him of Matt Bunn is going to be really quick. It's apparently got some really good speed in the top end, and it's going down to the right, and Matt Bunn, is he going to take the lead in this one ahead of Janko and Dance in towards the 10A and 10B section? Side by side, Bunn inside, Janko outside, Janko. And there's a little bit of contact for Dance. Here comes Bass to the inside. We've got Ben Palmer, Mike Horder. They're all battling it out here for the front of your field. This is tremendous stuff.
How have we got all 6 of these cars still on track? And behind them there's a 6-car fight as well. That's Ben Gregory, Josh Thompson, Michael Gray, Ross McFarlane, Paolo Munoz and Carl Moore. Paolo's gone wide. He got a bit of a wiggle through turn 1. Just trying to hold on to that around the outside, and that hasn't worked out for him, I'm afraid. But that was very opportunistic stuff from Ethan Bass there. You could say he's gone fishing for that one. He really did go up to 2nd place quite quickly with the other guys having a bit of contact. It was just Bunny just running a bit wide on the exit. We saw the same before from Morgan Butler getting involved in an incident, but Bunny now 3rd position. He'll be happy with that still, not to see 2 Audis ahead of him. But like you said, Paul, that BM's got some good top end pace, and here comes Josh Thompson. He's now past Ben Gregory, and now we're going to see the real top end pace of that BMW in the slipstream with Mike Horder. We go on board then. Absolutely
down the back straight away. The right hand kink down the straight is turn 9. As they head on through this one, it plunges downhill. You've got to watch your braking, because it is a downhill braking zone here. Watch how Thompson closes up. You can see ahead that Bunn is battling with Bass at the head of this group. Through the final corners they go, and this is allowing Janko to pull away here at the front of your field.
Yeah, Janko's going to be watching in his mirrors and thinking, yep, go on, you keep that fight going. As Harold Stadler, who we were just looking at a little bit ago, is just recovering from either a spin or some contact, and the Demon Tweaks Brandon getting some good exposure there from the camera track side. But this is the fight for 2nd place back. Ethan Bass holding on to this one from Matt Bunn, and I know that an inside joke with Matt Bunn is that he's had every hobby under the sun. I wonder if he's about to take up fishing to try and get 2nd place then off Ethan. And he's got a really good run out of turn 5 there, down towards the double right. He's weaving around behind him. Paolo Munoz has had another issue there, and he is off down the outside. It is. He's going to absolutely hate that. And Matt Bunn is now side by side with Ethan Bass. Cam Dance watching just behind. Give each other room, boys. Cam tucks it to the inside, lets it run out to the outside. Ben Palmer is in there as well with Josh Thompson. And Josh has been working with the Pure Sims guys as well. Josh does a lot of driver coaching. He's very friendly with those boys. So this is going to be a bit of an interesting one to see how this turns out. But he's on the right-hand side now. He's gone past Palmer. He's trying to get past Cam Dance. He's on the outside. They're 3 wide, though. I didn't realise Ben had stuck it down the inside, but Ben Palmer is not scared. Makes contact with Cam Dance, points him the right way, though. He says, oh, go on, there you go. And Josh Thompson benefits from it. But if anything, you know, Ben was more than entitled to put his nose down there, but Cam just didn't quite give him the room on the apex. Still side by side with Horder, though, as they go around the final corner. And behind him as well, his teammate Ross McFarlane's in this with Michael Gray as well. Side by side, they try and drag each other around the outside of the reigning Pro-Am champion. And McFarlane carries the speed, but of course the optimum line down the inside for Mike Horder works for him there. Top of the hill. Horder breaks a bit earlier, still side by side. He's saying, not on your life, mate. Ross McFarlane just makes it through. That's great commitment. But now, of course, he's got Moreno Sirica on his tail as well, and the other Williams Esports BMW. But further up, speaking of Williams Esports BMWs, Josh Thompson now 4th place. You've got to think, Paul, with over half this race to go, he's got to be in with a shout with a win if he can just dispatch of Matt Bunn and Ethan Bass quickly.
Ethan Bass is doing a sensational job in 2nd place, it must be said, in that Audi. The Audi, not the easiest car to drive. He makes a little mistake on the exit of turn number 7, does Bass, and that's allowing Bunn to pull up alongside, and it's going to be 3 wide in a second, because here comes Josh Thompson as they head on down the back straightaway. Oh, the tree's hiding it. There we go, 3 wide. Bass just having to relinquish it. And Thompson up into 2nd place then, hard onto the brakes. And there we go, up ahead of Bass and Bunn. Cam Dance and Ben Palmer are the next ones to look at Ethan Bass to try and make their way through as they head on through. And Bunn giving the flash of the headlights to Thompson. He wants to let him know that he's there. Oh, look at this, Palmer around the outside of Dance. Can he make this one stick? He's got the inside for 2. Yes, he does. Sensational overtake around the outside of 1. That Mercedes looks like it's on rails at the moment.
It does indeed, and I tell you what, only Ben Palmer really could make a move like that work. Ben has raced in the real world as well, don't you get me wrong, but wow, that was great commitment there. Ben has shown the man fruits in that situation and got it done, and now he's already on the back of Ethan Bass after a great run out of turn 5 and another position for the mini challenge JCW driver. What a great performance on this lap alone for the number 2. But like you say, Paul, that Mercedes, it was written off at the beginning of the season already for the fact that it wasn't competitive, but Ben is certainly making it look so at the moment. This now is Moreno Sirica in the number 69. Ross McFarlane in front of him. Moreno thinks, oh, I don't mind a bit of 3 wide, let's do it. So they go. The trees are hiding it this time, but I tell you what, if the trees weren't hiding it, I wouldn't see it anyway, because I'm covering my eyes onto the brakes. Ross McFarlane still on the inside, defends it nicely. Sirica can't get the job done on the exit, and Cam Dance is still trying to find that gap as well. A little bit of daylight between the 2 bumpers, but only just there as he goes over the curb, round the final corner again. And here is the battle for the lead, and it's not taking Josh long, and it's not going to take him long to get past as he takes the race lead. And he needs this, to be honest, Paul. He may be fighting with his teammates at the top of the championship, but he, of course, is further down the order in terms of the actual points. He was, what, 8th, 9th coming into this race meeting, so he needs this gap to his teammates if he's going to claw his way back up the order.
Yeah, it certainly does, and it's also showing here at Road Atlanta, should I say, that it's not the easiest place to work your way through on the reverse grid. Ben Palmer running wide through turn 5. Ross McFarlane having to check up behind Ethan Bass, and that allowed Moreno Sirica down the inside of him, and Bass gets checked up, does Sirica. Good work not to make contact with Ethan, the Pro-Am driver from the TechSense Fitstyle Motorsports team. But it's Williams Esports with Moreno Sirica up ahead as well. Mohamed Janko and Matt Bunn, they're swapping positions. Bunn ahead of Janko down this back straight, and the Audi just does not have the legs of the BMW. And here comes McFarlane looking to the inside. Bass, little bit of an error. Back end wanted to swap around on him, and McFarlane is going to go down the inside. Flash of the headlights, I don't think Bass appreciated that. And here comes Cam Dance now, his teammate, to the inside.
I tell you what, I don't know what Ethan was flashing his lights at for there, whether that was self-frustration or anything, but we all know it's 5 brake horsepower extra in a straight line. The Audi looks like it needs it at the moment. I'm not going to get any more fish puns out about Ethan other than the one about the rear end flapping around down the exit of that chicane. But Bunny up to 2nd place now, Ben Palmer up to 3rd, so 2 Pure Sims cars in the top 3, and this is Mohamed Janko. He's doing a great job in that Audi. Like you said, Paul, It doesn't look like it's got the legs in a straight line. It really didn't have them last season, trust me. And Moreno Sorica gets a fantastic run out of turn 5. Makes it look like Janko's not there, but you can see this is a clever run from Janko. Him and Bunny are both fighting in the Pro-Am Championship, but Janko knows that he's quite far up there, and he doesn't have to fight with these pro drivers. He's making it easier for them by just getting out of the way and cracking on with his own race. That is Mr. Horder just going past Ethan Bass there. Ethan is sinking like a thing at the moment with Carl Moore and Michael Avdoka and Daniel Lee right behind him. Daniel's put in a great performance this race meeting. You know, he didn't really like the world up or our timing screens up in the first few meetings, but that H2M, hard to make engineering car, doing well. Carl Moore down the inside of it, late on the brakes, and he's gone straight on, and he's going to hate himself for that one. He gets back over the grass, collects it all up and back on the circuit, but it's easy to do that down there, isn't it, when you're trying to make a move and just go that little bit later on the brakes than your rivals.
Here we go then to the inside. Michael Avdoka and Ethan Bass looking down there, and through he goes. So Avdoka up ahead of Bass. Ben Palmer, he's been impressive, up ahead of Matt Bunn, who's now got the pressure of Moreno Sorica from behind. So it's BMW, Mercedes, BMW, is he top 4? And look at the run that Sorica gets through turn number 5. That Williams car launches itself through that corner. Bunn holding the inside in that 3M car, holding the position. Sorica to the inside of 7. Late lunge from Sorica there. Bunn must have thought he was safe, but there he goes, Sorica through. And now Ross McFarlane wanted to get in on the app, but Bunn, he's not giving up on this one. He's taking the slipstream.
Yeah, he's saying, you think you can get past me that easily, mate? Not a chance. But look at this. The way that those Williams guys have that BMW set up, they can carry so much mid-corner speed. They're so late on the brakes. It's down the inside. McFarlane, thank you very much, he says. Wow, in the background, Michael Gray. Cam dancing, Mohamed Janko. And that was Gray losing it on the exit. Janko across the track. Daniel Lee, great job in avoiding there. Pete Harrod as well. Bibby and Jake Blackhall got checked up in the contact a little bit. But that was all Michael Gray losing that car on the exit there. I'm not sure if there was contact to unsettle him. We'll have a look. Thank you very much. Paul is absolutely on fire with these replays today, everybody, I must say. A little bit of moving around in a straight line. I always tell everyone how much I dislike that. So here we go. Just keep an eye on Janko. I don't think Gray leaves enough room, but to be fair, if there was contact, it was minimal.
Wide. There's 3 wide through there. You can't give a lot of room when you're 3 wide there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And that shows right there. So Gray, the big loser out of that one, losing out there further down. We've not mentioned it, but we've got 4.5 minutes remaining in this one. This race has flown by. We can tell you the top Pro-Am at the moment is Matt Bunn up in 5th place. Mike Horder in Pro-Am is 7th, and Ethan Bass still up there in 8th place, doing a fantastic job there in the TechSense FitStyle Motorsports car. Your top Am, I'm having to look down my order here because Chris Byram down in 28th. Sorica gets it almost into the back of Ben Palmer. Palmer with the late move, the late defensive move there to block off Sorica. And now here comes Ross McFarlane in the other Pure Sims car to try and get that 3rd place from Sorica here as time is running out. I just want to quickly mention as well, Kieran Chung is in 29th, just with Chris Byram down there in the lead of the AM class. And Michael Blake, 34th, is 3rd, as there goes Sorica to the inside of 3. Great move. They're still together though, Palmer and Sorica, but it's Sorica who just gets to the front.
One thing you have to admire about Ben Palmer in this racing series and in every series that he races in, he is not scared of anyone. He does not care if you are one of the top drivers in the world in sim racing like Mr. Sorica. He's going to defend as hard as he wants, and he is going to absolutely go for it everywhere. And I tell you what, he was certainly hanging it out there. Ross McFarlane and Matt Bunn, these 3 of course stable mates within Pure Sims, and the 3M team doing a great job. It's a cracking looking car as well as that BMW in that livery. Looks absolutely gorgeous. This is the 39 car of Harold Stadler, chasing down one of his ex-stable mates as well, Ben Gregory, in the Jericho livery car. Oh no,
It's Mark again. Turn number 5 is Mark Woodhouse's. It is not his turn. I think it's safe to say that. Don't say he gets enough of contact going into here. And please don't say that's... Well, it's a Ferrari. It's a Pure Sims Ferrari that's behind him. Nope, this time it's just up on the curb and into the tyre barrier. Well, at least he hit the tyres this time rather than the concrete wall. That's something.
Yeah, true. But I'll tell you one thing. When that car got going again, as we came to it in that shot there, it didn't look as damaged as it probably would have been with such a big hit there. So I think he might have got away with that a little bit there. Nice to see the crowd doing a bit of social distancing as well in the background of that shot there. This is the number 33 of George McClay. He is against Paulo Munoz a bit further down the order. 3-2-1 is, well, it's probably what he says before he spins it each time at turn 1, isn't it? He goes 3-2-1, turn it in, and the back end goes around. But he's actually managed to wrestle it around there a little bit through the remaining laps of the race, but it seemed like he didn't quite have it down earlier. This is Kieran Chung then, second in the AM category at the moment. Chris Byram is the car just going into turn 5, a couple of cars ahead further up the order, so he's pretty cemented in the lead of this one at the moment. A minute and a half left to go. And Chris Byram, who scored a lot of points at the very first race meeting for P1 Racing, doing a great job here as well. It's his first league as well, actually, this one, Paul. Yeah. He's never raced in a league before in iRacing, and he's doing a good job of it at the minute.
And what a league to come into. I mean, you can't get much more competitive than the World GT Championship, that's for sure. As we've got Pete Harrod and Jake Blackhall battling for 10th and 11th. Blackhall getting a good recovery drive after what happened in race number 1. Alex Nella is having to recover in his car ahead of Stephen McAfee, and also Michael Gray to the inside, who's doing a bit of a recovery drive as well. So the XVR car, the boosted car, and also the McAfee car, which is the Paceworks Esports car, through turn number 1, 20th place for McAfee. So he's in with a shout of getting that reverse grid draw, but here we are up at the front. No, that isn't second place that's behind him. Josh Thompson then. This is going to be his final lap of the race because there's only 22 seconds remaining in this one. It's been an absolutely breathless race here in this third meeting of the World GT Championship. Heading down the back straight in towards 10A and 10B, and it's thoroughly deserved, is this one. He's worked hard all the way through this championship to try and get this race win. And in race number 2 today, he comes across the line to take the win here in this particular race. Well done, Josh Thompson, for Williams Esports, but it wasn't easy for his teammates. Marina Sarika looking further down your order. Pete Harrod and Carl Moore to the inside of the final corner. Moore is going to get it. Harrod going drifting around the final corner. He's adept to drifting. And he manages to get it done. Christian Rose has managed to get ahead of Ben Gregory. So the man who started on the front row of the grid is 24th. He could potentially start on pole position if the spin of the wheel goes his way. Across the line they go. And the rest of your field working their way across the line. Morgan Butler having a recovery drive here, beating Nathan Dixon down the inside through the final corner. Dixon tried to get the cutback, but it doesn't quite work there. And then a little bit of contact at the end there. It's something or nothing is that one, really. Yeah. And Craig Jones, it's worth pointing out to him, give his car a little bit of love here at the back, down in 42nd, and the SEC racing driver coming through those final couple of corners, plunge downhill into that final corner now, and Craig will take the checkered flag here. But Chaz, we could get a breath. We could get our breath back now. That was sensational action from start to finish.
I'm going to have to put my fan up to level 2 rather than level 1 now, because that was exciting beyond measure, that one. Matt Bunn, of course, winning the Pro-Am category in that race, doing an absolutely outstanding job there. Good to see Andy Shield as well, 20th place in that race there. We didn't really see much of his drive through the field, but he just did it so under the radar, as we would say, that that 20th place just came out of nowhere from him. Chris Byram winning the AM category as well. Kieran Chung was second in that, but he dropped down to 32nd place by the end of the race, losing the place to George McClay in that action there. But there is your final standings for race 2 then. And again, 2 Williams Esports cars on the podium, 2 Pure Sims Esports cars, still chasing them right to the very end there, Paul.
Certainly did. So it is Thompson and Sarika first and second place, ahead of McFarlane and Palmer, the two of Pure Sims Esports drivers. Matt Bunn for 3M is your top Pro-Am in 5th place, ahead of Michael Evdoka. Mike Horder then the second of your Pro-Am standings in 7th, ahead of Ethan Bass. Great result from Ethan in the end there to finish in 8th place. Daniel Lee 9th, ahead of Jake Blackall in 10th place. Carl Moore then in 11th, just as we saw, battling it out with Pete Harrod across the lines, who finished 12th. Bradley Burns 13th, ahead of Lewis Bibby. Chris Wood 15th, after getting involved in a couple of little bits of shenanigans. Cam Dance, recovery drive from him. Mohamed Janko, he'll be disappointed with that result after being up at the front early stages of this race. Alex Nella and Michael Gray 18th, 19th, ahead of Andy Shield in 20th place. Stephen McAfee in 21st, ahead of Harold Stadler. Christian Rose ahead of Ben Gregory, who is the last place of the possible reverse grid draw. Adam Hedgecock 25th, ahead of your amateur winner Chris Byram in 26th. Matthias van Delden in second place in he's in the Pro-Am, should I say. He's in 27th, ahead of Simon Field. Pete Newman and Paulo Munoz having a recovery drive after a couple of issues at turn number 1. George McClay 31st, ahead of Kieran Chung, who is your second placed amateur driver, ahead of Michael Blake, who's in 3rd in your amateur standings. Matt Woodhouse again caught out by turn number 5, ahead of Morgan Butler. Nathan Dixon, Simon Underhill, who didn't run out of fuel this time, in 37th. 38th for John Roberts, ahead of Dean Powell, and Matt Draycott in 40th place. Kevin Baker, Craig Jones, James Whitehouse is the first two drivers not to finish, ahead of Niall Crowther. Max Bird, who was on pole position and unfortunately does not take the win and take any points at all. Lars van Rijn, who was your amateur leader coming into this round of the championship, out of the race. That's going to hurt him really seriously there. Tony Draper as well, another of your top AMs not finishing. And there's a big one at the bottom of the standings, 48th, Alex Arana not finishing that race. But Chaz, what do we say about that?
I've got nothing. That was absolutely brilliant. Amazing racing all the way up and down the order. I said that it was going to be exciting, even compared to that first race as well. And the reverse grid just does an amazing job in this championship. It's not too big a reverse grid, so that, no offence to them, a lot of the slower guys further down the order, they don't really bottleneck it that much. You still see a lot of these Pro-Am guys and a couple of the AM drivers as well that are really quick. They get the chance to be right up there and fight with the big boys in this series. And it's really, really strong, the quality of this grid this season. I mean, last season was rapid. Like, overall, the pace of everyone was rapid. It was unbelievably competitive. This season's just gone up another notch. And the fact that we see some of these Pro-Am guys near the front of this grid, and they stay there. That's the thing. They stay there really well. And you see the pros coming through. I mean, Moreno Sarika in that one, the move that he pulled on some of those guys in the double right-hander at the top of the hill was unbelievable. And it's what we've come to expect from them. But still, the guys gave him a good fight for it as well, and I'm sure that all the Williams Esports guys that are in this series will have enjoyed that, except for, of course, Alex Arana, who we lost early on in that one.
I'm also going to say as well, Ben Palmer around the outside of turn number 1 was a brilliant one. We've got to get to the spin of the wheel, and you'll see that it's left off where we left it. So 24 was last time here. So let's have a look at the spin of the wheel and see where we are going to have the reverse grid for you for the final race. We've got one more race, another 20-minute race with a reverse grid, so don't go anywhere, everyone, because you're not going to miss that one. It's not going to be 24, it's not going to be 16, is it going to be 20, or is it going to land on 12? It's just ticking over, and it's going to be 12 is your reverse grid. So Pete Harrod, champion from last season, is going to be starting on pole position, and the man that he was battling with across the line in the final corner there, Chaz, Carl Moore, is starting alongside him. And those two, I've been having a look, I've been having a few words, shall we say.
Oh heck, bit of drama then for race 3, but well, it's always good to see sparring partners from the first two races get together on the front row of the grid, right in the spotlight for us lot to either laugh at or point fingers at or just enjoy some brilliant racing from. So I'm going to be very, very upfront about this here. Pete could hold on for a race win here from the front, but Carl Moore, we've seen he's very, very fast this season, so either one of them could take it, but you'd hope that the reigning champion could show a bit of prowess here and take the win.
Well, we don't go anywhere because we're going to have some shenanigans in this final race of the evening. Stick around. After the commercials, we are going to be seeing the final race of meeting number 3 of season 8 of the 3M World GT Championship. You are not going to miss this one because it was an absolute thriller, the last one. After these commercials, we'll be right back.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
field is rolling out for the start of today's 400 lap race on this 0.625 mile racetrack. Here's the starting lineup. On the pole from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the number 9 Coors Ford qualifying and Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into second position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison.
Second win of 1987.
Welcome back to live coverage then of the World GT Championship. Season 8, Meeting 3, here at Rudd, Atlanta. And this has been an incredible night's racing. And don't forget, there's this final race to go here. And we're in the late afternoon, so the golden sunshine is in the air. Track conditions for this round. Look at that. The drivers are going to be absolutely over the moon with that track temperature, 26 degrees Celsius. They're going to be more than happy with that here. Don't forget myself, Paul Smith, Chaz Draycott on commentary. Istvan Bello, trackcams22.com. If you like the cameras that you see here on stream and you want to get similar cameras to what you see on stream, won't be exactly the same, but if you want to see similar cameras, then make sure you check out his website. He does a fantastic job there. But here we are then. Final race of the evening here, Chaz, and a small reverse grid, only 12.
Yeah, it's going to be very much of what we saw in race 2. I think in this one, a lot of the pro guys right at the front, having a really strong scrap with some of the Pro-Am drivers. Maybe a couple of the AMs will make their way up there as well over the course of the race. We've seen a little bit of attrition here and there. It's very easy to get caught up in someone else's incident here. If someone goes off in front of you, a lot of this circuit does sort of overlap background onto itself, and if someone's going off, you do tend to get caught up in it. But all the same, we've got a great set of drivers near the front of the field. We've got a reigning champion, Pete Harrod, up there as well, and Carl Moore. And like we say, there seems to be something that needs to be settled there between those guys.
Absolutely, they were side by side with Pete Harrod giving it the old drifter Rooney around the final corner. But as I say, he's a former drifter himself, so he's got plenty of practice, well versed in that world of motorsport. But we're getting ready then for your final starting grid of the evening. So let's bring the sim up and let's have a look at that starting grid when it lets me. Come on, you know you want to
not been your friend tonight, has it?
It's wanting to show the grid. Ah, there we go. Finally, it comes up. Pete Harrod, pole position ahead of Carl Moore. So Pure Sims Odd BP and Paceworks Esport Cobalt first and second place. Jake Blackall, the leader of your Pro-Ams in this race here, ahead of Daniel Lee in fourth place for H2M Engineering. Ethan Bass, great result for him in race number 2. He'll be looking for another good result here in race 3 ahead of Mike Horder. Michael Avdoka and Matt Bunn in 8th place. Ben Palmer, Ross McFarlane, Marina Sarika and Josh Thompson. That's your 12 that reversed on the grid. The rest are in your finishing order. So Bradley Burns, Lewis Bibby, Chris Wood, Cam Dance, Mohamed Janko, Alex Nella, Michael Gray, Andy Shield down to 20th. Stephen McAfee ahead of Harold Stadler, Christian Rose and Ben Gregory in 24th. Adam Hedgecock ahead of your pole-sitting amateur driver, Chris Byram ahead of Matthias van Delden. Simon Field is in 28th. Pete Newman 29th ahead of Paulo Munoz. He'll be looking for a bit more of a recovery drive there ahead of George McClay and Kieran Chung. Michael Blake not being team mad tonight here, 33rd ahead of his teammate Matt Woodhouse in 34th. Morgan Butler, he'll have to have enough of a recovery drive here in 35th ahead of Nathan Dixon. Simon Underhill and John Roberts 37th, 38th ahead of Dean Powell and Matt Draycott. Gavin Butler, I don't know where I got that from. Gavin Baker, should I say, for P1 Racing ahead of Craig Jones for SCC Racing. James Whitehouse and Niall Crowther. Max Bird, Lars van Rijn, Tony Draper and Alex Arana in 48th. And there we go, it's shown it is this time. Adam McNally picking the right car this time in 49th place.
Well, that's part of the battle won then for Adam McNally, isn't it, to get the car chosen and get out there on the grid. But it's car 1, P1 at the moment for Pete Harrod, and he's got Carl Moore alongside him. McLaren versus BMW, then we've got BMW versus Ferrari on row 2. Keep an eye on Alex Arana from 48th on the grid. Once he pops up on your timing screen on the left, everybody, he will do, trust me, then he's going to be making some serious inroads. And keep an eye also out for Andy Shield in the 007 Sim Sports Racing USA black, orange and white BMW, because he surely will have some good pace here. He's been quick all season and last season as well. He was a championship contender for a lot of last season as well, so we'll hopefully see him flying up the order. But there is your field then, weaving, getting the tyres nice and warm. The track, as Paul mentioned, is cooler, so these guys might have to work a bit harder in this case to get the tyres warmed up at the start of the race. But this should be a fantastic way to round out our evening here, Paul.
Well, if this third race is anything like race number 2, then both me and you are going to end up with no voice by the end of tonight.
Right.
It's been absolutely sensational action here in the World GT Championship, brought to you by 3M, by Pure Sims and by Simmortal Models as well. But Pete Harrod on pole position, he's going to go for it already here, and he's making the jump. Green flag in the air then, and down the inside of Carl Moore goes Jake Blackall up into second place. A big jump for him.
Whoa,
Daniel
bunny.
Lee and Moore side by side,
no.
and Bunn! Is that Matt
Pete
Bunn?
Harrod's off. Harrod's off on the outside of turn 1. I think he's gone in a bit too hot and he's lost the places.
Big crash.
Josh Thompson as well, and I think that has got to be Jake Blackall that's come on as well. Jake Blackall's had a big hit. Carl Moore has also gone off at the top of the hill. There's another car roll. That's Jake Blackall. He's still not come down from the heavens there. Josh is going to pull the car over, but Matt Bunn had an amazing start there. That's Tony Draper backwards at the top of the hill. It's all kicked off up there, but Matt Bunn had an amazing run through the middle of 2 cars, and then he got clipped by his teammate. Here's the incident with Josh Thompson. Jake Blackwell's on the outside just in front. Oh, Jake loses it, comes back across the pack, gets chucked into the sky. And Josh Thompson gets a heavy old hit there. You'll see Tony Draper ready. Oh, never mind.
We'll get another look at this one. There was a Vulcan car off in the background. We'll get another look at this. The Bunn is off. There's Harrod off. There's Blackhall is going to appear on your left-hand side there. There's very little that he could do there because he's on the grass. He's hitting the grass. And look at him bouncing down the road. He's still rolling, is Jake there.
Wow, I shouldn't laugh, but that was quite a comical shot of it just going across screen at the same pace in the air that some cars were still on the ground. But Matt Bunn, it all started with that sort of the bunching up a bit further back. Matt Bunn got a great run, like I say, between 2 cars, and then Michael Evdoka made contact with his teammate into turn 1, and that was it, and he was around and in front of the pack there. But here we go then. Front of the field at the moment is actually Daniel Lee, who I was saying earlier has had a hell of an evening so far. He's absolutely flying at the front.
We've got more incidents. Michael Gray.
Oh no,
Michael Gray is off. This is at turn 3, exit turn 3, and I think he's had an issue with Bradley Burns. Well, we've commented about how good the racing had been up to this point. Unfortunately, everybody seems to have not had a sensible pill and decided to go for it at the end.
Yeah, Dean Powell there as well, just having a bit of a 9-point turn at the top of the hill by the look of it.
It's the 3M car.
It seems like he lost it going up the hill there. There wasn't a lot of room between the pair of them, but Bradley seemed to lose the back end, and just in correcting it, he just tipped into the side of the car.
Nathan Dixon got hit around by one of the Lizard cars as well, yeah.
Yeah, Matt Draycott just turning in as he normally would. I think Dixon ran a little bit wide there. I don't always want to defend my brother, but he was quite near the grass on the exit. Here's a bit of shenanigans as they go over the hill. This is Pete Newman that we're looking at in the Knight Rider Designs car. He was following number 33 George McClay, and we saw Pete have an incident out of this right-hander earlier on. Oh, it checks up a lot there, and they all smash into each other. Mark Woodhouse involved. Oh, hold your brakes, George. George rolls back. Pete gets another hit, and that's surely just going to be the nail in the coffin for him, into the wall. And that, I'm sure, will be the end of Pete Newman's evening. But here is Ben Palmer. Ben is currently in 2nd place now. Ethan Bass has dropped down a little bit, and Moreno Sarica already up into 3rd. Ross McFarlane 4th, Michael Evdoka 5th, and it's Ethan Bass, Lewis Bibby, Carl Moore, Cam Danson, Chris Wood rounds out your top 10. But Daniel Lee, well, he's absolutely flying with it in the hard-to-make engineering car, but it's not hard to make a gap by the look of it.
Well, one thing that is interesting to see here now, one thing that will be a potential that people will discuss about as well, is the tyres. Because it's a colder track temperature, will it have been harder for them to get those tyre temperatures up and more likely to make mistakes? That is going to be the key action and key thing here for us to consider, as we've got side-by-side action further back. Moreno Sarica as well has moved up into 2nd place. So Sarica up ahead of Palmer, and Ross McFarlane trying to follow Palmer through here. Now Daniel Lee needed to make a breakaway here, because once Sarica got to the front here, he'll be now getting the hammer down and trying to catch up that leader, because there he is, there's your leader, and Sarica already pulling away from Palmer.
Yeah, Sarica now is just going to focus on that gap. He's not going to be driving in his mirrors and watching what Palmer and McFarlane are doing. Those two are working together though, and doing a great job in that Mercedes. That car has looked really on form tonight, and we do have an off week coming up, and I'm not going to be surprised to come back in 2 weeks' time and see a lot more Mercedes on the grid here, Paul, because like I said earlier, it was pretty much written off at the beginning of the season. Down the inside there, that was Cam Dance flying down the inside of Carl Moore. For some reason, Cam Dance in the number 45 car this round, not the number 27. That's a bit of a weird one. But maybe something wrong with the league numbers, I'm not sure. Whether someone else has got his number. We'll have a scan down the order.
Dean Powell.
Yeah, seems to have that number. So
look at that BMW top speed though. Look at it in the draft. Carl Moore looking to the right-hand side, down into the chicane, and Chris Wood is not, Team Mad have not had a good evening of it. He's actually in 10th place at the moment, and he's trying to really get some solid points for the team. and he's trying to work his way through in that McLaren. They have been commenting about how difficult that McLaren is to drive. Up at the front, Ben Palmer has lost third place to Ross McFarlane. So McFarlane really, as we saw in race number 1, was the only one who could really keep up to speed with the Williams guys to a degree, as Ben Gregory is off at turn number 1. Watch you rejoin there. Oh my goodness, that was close.
Yeah, that was a bit of a sharp inhale there with Ben Gregory making that rejoin. He was in 15th place here. We'll just have a look what he can do. I know that this Audi at quite high speed is very tail happy in towards turn 1, or just on the change down there as well as he turns it in. The back end gets around and it does that really annoying slide that the Audi does that I've witnessed firsthand, where it goes very, very slowly. And he tries to get it going again. The car rotates to the left a bit. Oh, it was just as one of the Paceworks esports cars actually pulls out and makes a move there that he nearly clipped him, but he's got back going again. This is now Palmer behind McFarlane. Whether that's a sort of team orders situation or not, I'm unsure, because we know that McFarlane is right up there in the championship. He has got some incredible pace, as Ross McFarlane is on the inside. There's that Woodhouse.
Very damaged McLaren there. Please don't say it's turn number 5 again, as they're all getting a bit close. Carl Moore, last corner is off, and he's taken the tour back to the pits. He is out of this race.
Oh, it's such a shame for Carl Moore. Started second on the grid. Both of our front row protagonists are gone and out of the race. He's following the 2 Tech Sense cars. Is he just going to overwork it down the hill? Let's have a look, because it was before the last corner. He's going to clip the grass, isn't he?
Yep.
He is. Oh, it's so easy to do that as well, because you try and get the slingshot through the final corner, and he tries to get out of the way. That's not where you want to be sat. Gets the car moving again, and he realises that rejoining there is going to be a nightmare, and I think out of frustration tows the car back to the pits. The lead gap, by the way, Paul, is just over a second now between Sarika and Daniel Lee. It's under a second now, I've said that as well. So Moreno making the moves. Here's Chris Wood, though, in 9th position. He is chasing down Ethan Bass at the moment, who's had a fantastic evening in that Audi, to be fair, hasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly has. He's really put on a display, has Ethan. But here's Wood looking to the inside of 10A. Onto the brakes for that Audi, just better on the brakes then. And turning, so that McLaren just not working. We've got to look at the front too, because look at how close it is now for Sarika. You don't need me to bring up a graphic to tell you how close it is. You can see it on track.
Yeah, it certainly is, and this is on board now with the beautiful sounding BMW Z4 GT3. And he is going to be focused very much so on the back of that Ferrari, but with 11.5 minutes left here, Paul, you've got to think he doesn't have to push too much. We know that he's got the pace over McFarlane at this stage of the race. Does Moreno Sarika. Look at the action on the wheel there, running wide out of turn 5, but it doesn't faze him in the slightest. But Daniel Lee doing a cracking job at the moment. He is the highest Pro-Am in the field. Ethan Bass is second in that class, with Chris Wood just behind him, who we were looking at a moment ago. And this, you've got to think now, Ferrari used to be known for its top end, but there's a new top end king in town, especially with a bit of slipstream, and that is the BMW Z4. Here it goes, absolutely screaming its way down the straight. Nothing Daniel Lee can do, but you've got to think at this point, Paul, Daniel won't fight this too much, because either way, if he keeps it clean from here on out, he's surely going to get maybe a top 5, maybe a top 10, but it's good points for him all the same.
Yeah, absolutely. His nearest rival at Pro-Am is actually Ethan Bass in 8th place, so he's on for a really good score of points. Speaking of Bass and Wood, they are switching positions, or at least trying to switch positions, is Wood, but not successful so far. So Bass in that Texense Fitstyle Motorsports car doing a really good job. Wood gets the better run out the corner, looking to the inside of turn number 1. They're going to go side by side through there. That's not easy, and all of this is allowing Pete Harrod, your pole sitter, to come up behind them in 10th place.
Yeah, Pete's having a bit of a recovery drive at the moment. It's not what we expected to see from Pete Harrod in pole position. We would have thought he'd drive away with it, but running wide on lap 1, just maybe the cold tyres catching him out a bit. He's told me, I saw him the other day actually, we obviously socially distanced of course. He came into my back garden just to say hello, because I've moved house and I'm still local to him. And he was saying that the McLaren, and he said this wearing a McLaren t-shirt, I must tell you, he said it was a bit of a pig, and a lot more words, but not too much. But Chris Wood round the outside of Ethan Bass now. He's really made that move work. That was fantastic stuff from Chris, and he got a good run out the corner, obviously opening up the line. Pete Harrod's going to try and get in there now as well, but he's actually going to be boxed in here.
Yeah.
Ethan Bass is not going to let him through, and he's going to play a clever game here. He's actually pushing Chris Wood, who goes over to the left. Pete's in the middle. He doesn't want to squeeze through that gap and risk being turned around across the front of that Audi. He's down the inside of 10A. Ethan leaves him only the room he needs there. Pete's going to try the cutback, but here comes Harold Stadler, the Austrian, right behind in the red and white machine as well. And this is developing into a right good scrap now, Paul.
Well, that's it. And Harold, of course, is a stable mate of Ethan Bass at the in front of Pete Harrod there. So Chris Wood has actually pulled away a little bit on Ethan now as they go uphill through turn number 2, on the brakes into 3, up over the curb, then through the S's here. This is all classed as turn number 4. I don't get American track numbering, corner numbering, by the way. All of that is classed as turn number 4. Here's turn number 5, which is actually about the 7th or 8th corner. But anyway, that's enough of my rant about corner numbering here at Road Atlanta. It's not the only track like that in North America with their corner numbering. But Harold Stadler then holding on to 11th place ahead of Christian Rose, who's in 12th. Now, Christian doing a real job. Now, I want to draw your attention to a man who's just in the back of the shot there, Alex Arana. He started 48th. He's now 15th. That is ominous.
Oh, dearie me. And I tell you what, if you ever want to do any betting on any motorsport, anybody, do not ask me, because Andy Shield is actually last and I believe the first car to retire. I'm not sure if he took the start. So unfortunately, his run through into the top 20 not actually coming to fruition. But this is the 888 BMW Z4 GT3 of Alex Arana, the Williams eSports car, flying at the moment. What an amazing race he's having. 33 positions gained as things stand, unless my maths is off. And that's Paolo Munoz down the inside of Alex Nella ahead. He's just putting the pressure on Alex at the moment. Alex has raced in a lot of different series recently, and wow, look at the pace difference on Arana there, just carrying him around. That camera shot nearly made me feel motion sick there. As they go through turn 4.3, 4.4 and 4.5. And now they're going to go into turn 4.56 into turn 5 then. Arana gets it tucked in, and these BMWs have had a great run out of there, especially the Williams eSports cars, using that curb on the outside. Watch Arana, he's going to surely dive to the right. Doesn't do it too aggressively, but maybe he's just thinking now, Paul, Munoz is trying to make a move on Nella. Is he just going to wait for Munoz to just dive out and then go around the pair of them here?
Potentially, that's what he's looking at here, but he's got the slipstream, he's got a double draft there, pulls out, so he's no longer got that slipstream now, and it's a case of which one does Alex Nella defend against right here. Well, he's pulled in front of Alex Arana, actually, but here comes Arana past one, and he's going to go past another to 2 places gained. Down the inside into 10A, and this is another one that annoys me, and then 10B through there, and downhill once again towards the end of the lap. Now, Ethan Bass has lost the position to Pete Harrod. Look at Christian Rose behind. He's making a move down the inside of Harold Stadler. Change position then, so up to 11th for Rose, down to 12th for Stadler. Stadler's not going to sit back and take that line down, but he's just going to have to sit there for the time being in that 12th place.
I was just going to say then, the speed that Christian Rose carried out of turn 3 verse 12, page 3. And that's Chris Byram off the circuit.
He was your leading amateur.
He was, yeah. We were praising him before for how well he's been doing in the AM class, and that is a real struggle to get it going. One of the Team Lizard cars just coming past to overtake him there. Paul is absolutely on fire again with these replays, and he's chasing down Simon Field here. What's going to go on there? That's an aggressive defence from Simon. Oh, Chris has gone deep and he's going to hit the grass, and that is not what you want to do into turn 1. It's a fast corner. He does a good job though. I was going to say he does a good job, keep it out of the wall. But yeah, that's not going to upset the car too much. But look at it struggle to get the traction down to get back on the circuit. Such a painful experience when they're trying to get these cars going. And this is Michael Evdoka in the Ferrari. We've not seen too much of Michael this evening as they lap the Team Lizard Motorsport car with no front end on it there. I'm just trying to figure out, is that Draycott or
No, it's not.
Crowther?
I think it's Crowther, I believe. Yes, it is. It's Crowther, it is. So not the best of evenings for him. Matt Bunn is battling away with Adam McNally. So the Excite Energy Racing guy from the northeast. It's not been a midnight for him tonight, but he's coming around in 22nd at the moment. Matt Bunn, 23rd, of course, dropped down from where he started this race, so not the best final race for him, as Mike Horder in 24th, just sat behind them right now in that flame-spitting McLaren. Just waiting patiently for anything that's happening. Christian Rose to the inside of Ethan Bass. Not going to make the move as he is. And there's Arana looking to try and follow him through now. Bass gets the better run out the corner on the Ferrari. And here comes Arana to the outside. It's going to be 2 wide. Almost going 3 wide here. Rose just showing a nose. Down the hill they go then, through that sweeping right-hander, plunge downhill into the braking zone. We've seen how good Bass is on the brakes. Arana having to leave some space for him there. Great defence from Ethan then, but that's opened up the door for Christian Rose as he comes through the final 2 corners. Final corner right here, he's got the inside line, but you can carry the speed through that final corner if you're Ethan. And look at the cars behind Stadler, and now Munoz looking to make the moves on Ethan Bass here through turn number 1. It's side by side now, Stadler and Bass, but not for the time being. Into 3, Bass back in, sliding out. Well held there, but that's slowing this group down.
You could say that was fishtailing there at the top of the hill for Ethan Bass. That was a very, very sketchy moment, but he managed to hold on to it really well. Oh, and that is that Matt Bunn? It is.
It's Matt Bunn.
Got turned
and
off
it's
at
Adam
turn
McNally.
1. Oh, aye. And Matt Bunn got turned at turn 1 and he was trying to recover, and that has not gone all of his way, obviously, by the look of it. But I was going to say before, Christian Rose shows his nose and off he goes. But unfortunately...
Oh, Matt.
Oh, that was... I don't want to say it.
Oh, there's a car coming out of pit road right there. Oh,
McNally rolls.
Up and over. He's taking the tour back to the pits. We'll get another look at this one.
Oh, no, that's sod's law, that, isn't it? Look at how it landed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll have a
McNally.
look at this then. Down the inside is Bunn. Oh, Bunn just seems to get a little bit of a bounce on. And then bang, up and over, and over. And we're on our side.
Well, that just shows you the stability of the BMW Z4 GT3. If you're thinking about driving at anybody, it can stand itself up on its own wing mirrors and its own rear wing. This is the battle for second place at the moment. This is Ross McFarlane chasing Daniel Lee, who, to be fair, while we've not seen a lot of him in this race, he's been a real standout for me tonight, Paul, because he's done a smashing job. I've said to him as well that we need to get him on for commentary on some form, because he's got a great voice for it and he's very well composed. But he's showing that he's composed in the car as well at the moment, because Ross McFarlane has not made him crack under pressure yet. 2 minutes, or just under 2 minutes to go, and you've got to think McFarlane may get it done here. The Ferrari, we know, is quick in a straight line, but the Mercedes in the slipstream, he's just going to get it done now. Eases out to the left-hand side. Daniel Lee doesn't over-defend it, and like I was saying before, he doesn't get involved too much in these fights because he doesn't need to. I'll say that, though. He's come straight back at Ross McFarlane. Have that, he says. You're not getting past straight away, and he's thinking, which side of this car do I go on, the blue or the white? And Daniel Lee holds on to that. What a fantastic bit of cutback that was.
The brilliant driving there from Daniel. Sensational stuff from the H2M engineering car into turn 1. This is for the second step of the podium. And Daniel could quite easily just say, do you know what, Ross, you want that position badly, you take that position. But Ross, a little bit slow through turn 4, well, started turn 4, through the S's.
0.6.
We'll call it the S's because that's its name, but through there, and that just lost him a little bit of time, and up over the curb on the exit there for Ross McFarlane. And that just allows Daniel just to get a little bit of a breathing space. But with time running out here, there's only going to be 2 more opportunities down this back straight for Ross, because we are going to get 1 more lap in this race here.
We are indeed, and I think either way, whether it's second or third, Daniel Lee will be happy. You can read my mind. Alex Arana and Pete Harrod, the gap has been going down, and Arana in the 888 BMW goes past the reigning champion. But Pete Harrod, he's going to get some good points for this, and it'll keep him up there in the championship. But Alex Arana and Moreno Sorica, well, that race win for Josh Thompson might come to naught in this race meeting as Daniel Lee has finally conceded the position, or well, it's Daniel Lee. He's not letting himself concede yet, I think, is the best way to go about it. He's still chasing Ross McFarlane, and Daniel's the sort of driver that you've got to love in these championships. He's not scared of anyone, shows his nose down the inside. For Ross McFarlane. Yeah, Ross McFarlane's got it done, but fair play to him though. You've got to try these mind games. You've got to try and unsettle the car in front. It's Ethan Bass and Paolo Munoz side by side. Down the straight they go. Oh, I thought there was an overlap there, and he was just moving across again. Down the inside into turn 1. Ethan not too scared of that either. And around the outside, he's going to cap off a really good evening tonight though, is Ethan Bass, if he can finish where he is now, because he's going to get a hell of a lot of points. But look at this man here, Paul. Another one. Look at that man there. Ben Gregory. He's entering the Paris-Dakar next year, apparently, in the Audi R8 LMS GT3 Ultra, whatever it's called. And Moreno Sorica, though, a flawless performance in this race. Just got to the front when it mattered, and he's driven away from there. I mean, look at that. The only thing in the background is, other than Ross McFarlane, it's just an RV.
Absolutely. Down towards 10A and 10B for the final time tonight then. He can sense that checkered flag. Just got to make it, a little bit twitchy through 10B. Downhill he goes through turn number 12, and it's going to be a win for Williams Esport once again. Moreno Sorica across the line to take another victory here in the World GT Championship. But it's been all throughout the field where there's been action, and there's more action going on here. This is Nella, this is Munoz, this is Bass battling it out for 13th, 14th, 15th, downhill. Nella's actually made it up to 14th in this one. Can he get another spot? No, he can't across the line. Great drive from those drivers there to get that one there. There's a bit of drama at the chicane. They're going to get a cutback. A 3M driver of Bradley Burns and also Martis van Delden across the start-finish line, and through they go. My goodness, great action. Once again, action all the way down your field, and Chris Byram has just got ahead of Matt Draycott into 28th place further down your field. So drama on this final lap. There's still pretty close battling as well between Dean Powell and Gavin Baker as well. Not quite close enough though, Gavin, to make any moves in that P1 racing car, but the H2M engineering car of Dean Powell will come across the line in 35th, 36th for Gavin Baker, and that is all of you drivers across the line. But what a drive from this man right here.
Yeah, Moreno Sorica, like I said, just broke through when it mattered and got away. He had the Pure Sims cars around him as well, but he didn't seem too phased by them there, even though they did have really good pace in that final part of the race there. Daniel Lee wins the Pro-Am category in 3rd place. Brilliant drive for him. Chris Wood second in that class. Ethan Bass another podium in Pro-Am there, just ahead of Alex Neller as we saw across the line. Michael Blake in 19th place wins the AM category in the 3rd race of the evening. Max Bird was second in that one, and Tony Draper recovers after his incident earlier in the evening to get a podium in that class as well. But once again, Paul, it's Williams Esports and Pure Sims Esports that are showing the rest of the field how this is done.
Certainly are. Let's have a look then at the results then. Moreno Sorica, well, it looks a comfortable win, but it was anything but that in this final race, winning by 6.8 seconds ahead of Ross McFarlane in 2nd place. 3rd place for Daniel Lee, so 3 manufacturers in your top 3 there. Great result, and a Pro-Am win as well for Daniel Lee. Ben Palmer ahead of Michael Evdoka, only just by 0.3 of a second across the line, with Lewis Bibby in 6th place. Cameron Dance 7th ahead of the incredible drive through the field for Alex Arana in 8th place. 9th for Pete Harrod, and then your 2nd placed Pro-Am of Chris Wood in 10th place. 11th for Christian Rose ahead of Harold Stadler, and Ethan Bass gets a podium for Pro-Am in 13th place ahead of Alex Neller, who he had to fight off there at the end. Paulo Munoz, great drive for him, up into 15th place. Steve McAfee, good drive for him as well in that Paceworks Esports car in 16th place. Adam Hedgecock, Simon Field, Michael Blake, the winner of the AM category in that Team Mad car. He had a terrible 1st and 2nd race, but this 3rd race working out for him ahead of Simon Underhill in the Nomad Simrad racing car. Bradley Burns in 21st ahead of Matthias van Delden in 22nd. Max Bird then is your next AM driver in 23rd place. Mike Horder and Tony Draper rounding out for that podium as Chaz discussed earlier. Morgan Butler, John Roberts, Chris Byram, who had a little bit of a mishap down into turn number 1, Max Draycott, and then Matt Bunn, who lived up to his nickname of Matt Spun there at the end in 30th place. Ben Gregory, hard day's night for him, down in 31st ahead of Mohammed Janko, who'll be maybe a little bit disappointed with how his evening went. James Whitehouse ahead of Nathan Dixon. Dean Powell and Gavin Baker we saw across the line, and then Niall Crowther finished 1 lap down in 37th place. All the drivers 38th back did not finish and do not score any points. Adam McNally, who we saw on his side, Lars van Rijn, Kieran Chung, Mark Woodhouse, George McClay, Michael Gray, Carl Moore, that's a big one, who did not finish. Craig Jones, Pete Newman, Jake Blackall, who spectacularly went flying through the air ahead of Josh Thompson, who did not finish, and Andy Shield as well, caught up in all that. The last of your results there. Well, that was certainly some impressive racing. Got a little bit sketchy at the start of that final race there, Chaz, but still, I mean, I just go back to that race too. What a race that was.
Yeah, that was the highlight of the night for me, that. And to be fair, we saw some great racing in race 3 as well, but the second one, with the lack of incidents for how good the racing was as well. I mean, we often do see very frantic battles, but it drags incidents into the equation. We saw a bit of that in race 3 there. It was a bit frantic again, but yeah, race 2, what an incredible second race we had there tonight. It was a hell of a lot of fun. And we are going to start the interviews now, which of course is one of my favourite parts of the evening, where we get to grill these guys for what they have done over the course of the night. And we're going to start with, well, a driver I was praising a lot towards the end of that one. Daniel Lee joins us in the box from H2M Engineering. Daniel, you must be, first off, over the moon with 3rd place. That was a great drive, wasn't it?
I got to say that makes up for the calamity of Silverstone and the less than perfect Sebring. That is what we can do when we quali well and we avoid the sort of mistakes that are going on around us. I'm so happy with that, and I think the heat played into it. I've got my little cooling box that's pointed towards me, so I think everybody else was losing their heads and I was the main benefactor for that, so I'm so chuffed.
Indeed, it looked like you had some great pace, and what a fight with Ross McFarlane as well. I mean, there was a manoeuvre that you did to come back from when he overtook you into the last few corners that took my breath away. It was an absolutely amazing move. And to be fair, it showed the calibre of racing that you guys have. And to be goes on, there's I'm sure plenty of it. But talk to me about the first 2 races of your night, though, because it didn't look like they were the easiest trying to get through the pack.
No, yeah, we qualied really well. 7th on the grid as a Pro-Am is really up there. And we know the consensus is the Ferrari is a bit down on power, and you know what that means for overtaking and defending. You can do all you like in the corners, but once you're on the straight, if somebody's in your toe, they've got you. So it's no overtakes done at all, I don't think, other than people going off track and me collecting the spoils. But no overtakes done, just got to defend as hard as possible, get through as S's as quickly as possible, and try and pull out a gap. So I'm hoping that the Ferrari won't always be hamstrung in this way, because I want to be overtaking. I don't want to be on the back foot all the time, getting mugged left, right and centre. But we'll make the best of it, and there's a lot of good fight in that. That was 3 big plates of brilliant racing and what I expect from the WGTC.
Well, it certainly looked like a lot of fun, mate. It was a hell of a race meeting to watch. Well done on that 3rd place, and of course a win in the Pro-Am category as well. That's surely going to help your charge in that championship as well. But before we let you go tonight, Daniel, do you want to give a shout out to anybody while you're on the stream, mate?
There's a shout out to H2M Engineering again. Machine shop based in Leicester. They make all sorts of components that are complicated, hard to make, hence the name. They're working hard, so shout out to them. And thanks to you guys for the stream and the broadcast and the league. You're doing a great job, and it's really fun to be here. So see you next time.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Speak to you soon, mate. Absolutely cracking guy, like I say each week. Really top lad.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. The next interview we're going to bring in is somebody who has had an amazing evening, and it says independent, but it's not anymore. He's with the TechSense Fitstyle Motorsports team. Ethan, what an evening for yourself there. A really good, solid second race and third race as well, fighting it out with the big guns.
Yeah, thanks very much. I think it's actually the Renville team now. I think I'll get a red paint for Monza.
Ah, lovely.
Right.
But yeah, just talk us through your evening, because you had some cracking performances out there, and you're really showing the speed that you can get out of that Audi.
I think I must have been getting the absolute maximum out of it. I'm not getting the best out of it in qualifying, I'll say that right now. But Stephen McCaffrey definitely got a much better lap. But in race pace, I was seemingly more confident, because I could get him under braking in the race one, and then just from then on, just keeping my nose clean and then benefit as much as possible from the reverse grids.
Well, that's it. You've got that roll of the wheel then, and you're able to get yourselves into a good position for race number 2. And again, you lucked out with it being a small reverse grid for the final race as well. But you've got to take those chances, haven't you, in this series? And you've got to really grasp all those points that you can get.
Yeah, and it doesn't come easy, despite the fact you start at the front. You're still going to have some of the faster people come back. And it's like, I'm trying to go as fast as possible, and I've got absolutely no bones about being in Pro-Am, and I've got no problem with people being faster. It's quite difficult to hold some people back with some of the cars. I won't say more.
Well, we get a week off next week, but in 2 weeks' time, I do believe we head on to Monza next, don't we? So, what's your thoughts going into that round?
Monza should actually be quite fun, because it's a lot of the time made up on the brakes. And yeah, as much as some people will say it's a bit oversteer kind of thing, I think it's been improved since then. I think since when Chaz drove it last season, it's a bit better. It's the reason why. It's one of the reasons I've picked it, because it's no longer. It feels really planted. You can make it rotate. You can do what you want with it. It's a bit awkward on the curbs and the bumps. It's like maybe the only weakness of it. But apart from that, it's good, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I could do with maybe being a bit closer to the other cars, but when I actually have racing with the McLarens, the Ferraris, the Ford, sadly, and the other Audis, it's good fun.
Well, I know that Jack and Sam will be listening very intently to see whether you get all these correct. Is there anyone you want to thank whilst you're here?
I want to thank TechSense Fitstyle Motorsport for taking me on. Like I said, it was an independent deal. It's more, so I wanted to run with a team that was help with setup work, and we could all kind of work together for stuff. I don't have any Audi because I'm not a fan of the Ferrari, but I can still help them with setup, and they've helped me with setup especially. The cars come alive. I'm learning how to get the most out of it after a season in Mercedes. And sponsors would include TechSense, Renville, Demon Tweaks, and Fight Collateral Cancer.
Well, thank you very much then, and congratulations on some really good results here tonight.
Thanks very much for that. It's doing my best, and that was probably the best I could get from that without potentially just getting a bit more lucky. It was crazy sometimes, but it was just a case of being careful and watching people making dives and just being sensible.
Well, thank you very much, Ethan, and all the best. Take care.
Thanks very much. Thanks for the broadcast. I'll have fun watching this back.
So there we go then, Ethan Bass with that 13th place in the final race. Chaz, you've got one of our series sponsors here from Sir Mortal, Michael Blake.
Michael, that was another rough and tumble evening in the mid-pack for you in the McLaren, but you got the AM win in the end, so you must be pretty pleased with that one at least.
Yeah, it's great to actually start getting somewhere with a car. I've really struggled with it so far this season. I think I've DNF'd. I've had 3 DNFs now in 7 races, so it's not great. But starting to get there. Chris Wood come up with a fantastic suggestion on the diff before race 2, and it completely changed how the car drove for me.
Yeah,
really brought it alive.
Well, it's amazing how much those diff changes make. I remember a while ago trying to get a setup together for Daytona and the 24-hour in the Ferrari, and tried 1,000,001 different things, and then my mate just sort of went, "Have you tried the diff?" And I went, "Not really." And he changed one thing, and that was it. So I completely know what you mean there. And the McLaren as well. Talk us through sort of adapting to that car, because it's known as a bit of a demon no matter where it is, and it's a bit of a sort of morale killer. But a lot of drivers seem to have gone for it this season, and it's quick.
if you get it right, it's really, really fast. But like when we first started using it, what I found was if the steering wheel was anywhere other than straight, it was trying to spin out.
Yeah, it seems like that was the nature of it. And just very quickly, aside from this, of course, Immortal, you are the one of the sponsors of the championship, and I'm not sure whether anyone on the stream would have noticed. I actually have one of your models that you did for me on my desk with me right here, which was my old Thrust Vector Ferrari that we took part in the 24-hour race. We'll pop the case off, which I'm sure many collectors will absolutely hate. But just talk us very quickly through your business at the minute, Michael, because it's all been going very well, hasn't it, for you with the amount of work that you've had on recently?
Yeah, it's starting to pick up. Really want to thank everyone that's sort of given us a shot at building a custom model car of their sim racing livery. It's great fun to do, and it's really rewarding, and just something a little bit different out there that you can make your sim car a reality to sort of have on display.
Yeah, it certainly is a great thing to have. Trust me, everybody. If you do want one doing, get in touch with Michael because they are definitely worth it. But great to see you get that result tonight, mate, and get that out and win. And well, I'm sure you'll know as well that we'll be keeping an eye on you throughout the rest of the season. Before you go, though, do you want to give anybody a quick shout out?
You guys for the fantastic broadcasts. Everyone, Matt and Andy, and everyone involved in running World GT. It really is the best league out there. Everybody at Team Mad for putting up with my tantrums and helping me figure this car out. And yeah.
Smashing. Well, good to speak to you, Michael. Very well done, mate. And we'll speak to you in a couple of weeks.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
There we go then. Michael Blake.
Hi.
Yeah,
nice plug.
The reason why I don't interview my teammates is because they're my teammates. Let's fire on to our next interview, and it'll be somebody who I can't actually show on screen right here, so we'll just have to stick with the name badge. And Josh, what? First of all, first and second race, let's talk about them. Those were absolutely incredible races there. Just talk us through those first.
Yeah. Kind of nice to actually have two really good races. Shame the race really happened, but no. Third in race one, I was kind of happy with. To say I literally just turned up tonight after being at the 24 all weekend and had limited testing, so to be able to sort of keep up in race one was kind of good. Like with how much I'd done, and then obviously race two, I knew I could stretch my legs a little bit. I know where I'm going to be a little bit stronger than Moreno and Alex. I know in then reverse grid, that's where I'm going to pick up the pieces and get more points and get that advantage swing back to me. But yeah, it's just a shame it all tied together for race three.
Well, that's it. Just I was just going to quickly ask you then. Race three, what was it? How did you see things then at the start?
I just saw a lot of cars check up, went to the inside, and to be honest, it was a very unfortunate thing what happened. Jake was on the brakes on the grass, and literally as soon as his front wheels got back onto the tarmac, it just instantly spins the car, which then obviously pointed him in towards me. It just clipped the car. We watched it back on the replay within the team, and it was a tiniest tap, but it's just enough. And because obviously you had quite a bit of speed there, it was just always going to be a head-on impact into the wall, which unfortunately blew the engine. Even if it didn't blow the engine, I was kind of hoping I could just kind of get it to the end to score. So obviously now it means this is 2 drop scores in 3 rounds, which is not ideal with a long season ahead.
Absolutely. Well, all the best, Josh, and look forward to your week off next week.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
So we go Josh Thompson, and then finally, Chaz with Morgan Butler.
Morgan, good to see you again, mate. And well, first off, it's a shame to have seen the incident in the first race, but I mean, I've said to a lot of the guys round here at Road Atlanta, it's not the most straightforward of race meetings, is it?
Well, straightforward's definitely not the word to use it. You're right, but after looking back at that and speaking to James himself, like I feel that there was a lot more I could have done to avoid it, and I do hold my hands up and say that it shouldn't have happened, and it was my fault. I just simply didn't leave enough space on the outside. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, well, at least you can admit to your mistakes, mate. A lot of drivers always point the fingers at everyone else, but it looked like that Ferrari had good pace again here, and it sort of highlights what you had a couple of weeks ago, where you can really fight for those AM wins this season, can't you?
Oh, the Ferrari round here especially felt excellent. I know a lot of people have maybe said that it's not quite up there as one of the better cars, but around here tonight I'd probably disagree with that, because I just felt really comfortable when I was going well, I feel I had it hooked up, and it was just working excellently for me all night. Apart from obviously the odd collision and running with damage for the entirety of the 20 minutes in race 3 after a bit of a mishap. It still felt really good, and I still felt like I was able to race.
Well, that was always good to see, mate. Just quickly, though, because we are running out of time, I'm afraid. What are your thoughts ahead of Monza in 2 weeks' time?
Scared would probably be the right word, especially just with the fact that Ferrari's just got nothing really on the straight. Like, we're just going to get absolutely mullered. Like, it'll just be a case of sitting there with stickers on the back, just telling people to wave as they go past. So at least it's nice and friendly.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you, mate, but best of luck when we get to Monza in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
There we go then, Morgan Butler from 26th for the KRD Motorsports team. But very briefly then, Chaz, as you alluded to, we are running out of time here on the broadcast. Just final thoughts then on this one. Race 1 was a really, really exciting race, and the Williams eSports guys just dominated at the front. Race 2, though, that had everything. That was sensational stuff. Race 3, a little bit of a messy start, but still some really good close action throughout the field.
Yeah, definitely. Race 2 was probably one of the best races of the season so far, but every single race meeting now, we're just adding more and more to that list. So it just shows the high quality of racing we've got this season. And as we were talking about during the break as well, standards are so good. I mean, you and I have both raced in this season, this series before, and going back 3-4 seasons, you know, there were race meetings where it was questionable. The admins were pulling their hair out as well, myself included. But now, even with the higher competition, sometimes you see championships where they get these world-class drivers in, you know, the very top in iRacing, and there's a bit of an ego thing going on, and it gets a bit scrappy. But in this, the respect has been mega all season, and it's just going to continue, I'm sure of it. And, well, Monza in 2 weeks, it's going to be brilliant. Cannot wait. And, of course, I'm loving working with you guys as well, Race Spot, and yourself, of course, Paul, and the iRacing Esports Network, because it's just such good fun covering this series.
Absolutely. So you mentioned it. We'll have a look then at the calendar. As we mentioned, a week off next week, but in 2 weeks' time, August the 24th at 7:50 in the evening UK time, it is going to be Monza for 3 sprint races, 20-minute races coming up for you. It's the next batch of bunch of 3 weeks of action, because after that then we've got the second of the endurance races, Daytona Road. It's going to be at night as well, so that looks spectacular under the lights there. And then at the start of September, the Nürburgring for the Grand Prix layout of that. No shenanigans on the Nordschleife from this series, but yeah, it's certainly going to be a brilliant thing to watch and see going on. But I'm afraid that is all that we have got time for you tonight. So, from myself, Paul Smith, from Chaz Dracop on commentary, also Istvan Balor, Track Cams 22, and everybody here at RaceSpot TV as well. Thank you so much for watching us here. The World GT Championship Season 8 Meeting 3 is done and dusted. We'll see you next time in 2 weeks' time at Monza. Goodbye.
Sometimes I'd like to be alone in my own mind. I feel at home within these walls. I fear my own absence of association.